Oh, that's probably how I know her friend.
All right, he didn't answer, so I texted him. That's all I can do. He'll show up. Was he here yesterday as the secretary?
No, he wasn't. I don't think. Oh, I don't know. I wasn't there.
No, okay, we're on, you guys.
All right.
And we have David.
Oh, good. I just texted him. Okay, perfect.
Good job. All right.
Good. Okay. Do we have anybody in the waiting room?
We're just waiting for David to come in, and then we're going to start.
Okay.
How did yesterday go? Maybe you could give us an update on that.
Well, we're on live now. I think what we should do is just really dive into the meeting. So,
ooh, cool little.
Good morning.
Good
Cool
morning,
little symbol
David.
there.
I want everyone to know that we are on live now. Welcome, David.
Good morning, Lelania and Mary. How are you both doing this morning?
Good,
Wonderful.
and we've got Bird on as well.
Oh, good. Oh, good morning, Bird.
Morning.
There's a little bit of a delay with David for some reason.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, there is.
It's
Let me
like
see.
a dubbed movie right now.
All right, we have one guest in the queue. Let me write a note to everyone in the queue so they understand what's going on, and then we will begin. Just hang on a few moments, folks. We'll also start building our queue, hopefully.
I like David's little address bar. He'll have to show us how to do that. That was pretty fancy and official looking.
Yeah, I've been working with OBS a little bit, and so, but apparently it's causing a lag, like you guys said. So hey, we got to turn that off and make sure that you guys can. We don't want to look like like you said, like a dubbed movie.
So I'm going to go back to muting because we were.
All right, we're gonna all stay on mute except for Bird once we start really going, and then we'll unmute ourselves once. I'm trying to figure out how to talk to people in the chat room.
How many do you have?
I have 6, but there it is. I got it. Okay.
I would like you to let them in if you can.
Just give me a minute, Bird, please.
Okay.
Okay, so what I just put in here is that for anyone who's watching, that if you wish to participate in the conversation at noon or in the question and answer session after this first half of the town hall meeting, you call in and please put your name in the chat box, and we will let you in if you wish to speak during that time. Thank you very much. And if you don't, and you just wish to watch and maybe you get dropped off due to bandwidth issues or anything like that, you can also participate through Facebook Live on our Facebook page, the Humboldt County Human Rights Commission, and speak in the chat box, and we'll be moderating that chat box as well. We really are doing our best to get everyone involved. And then you will also be on KMUD this afternoon between 12 and 2. That being said, hello, my name is Lalania, and I am the chair of the Humboldt County Human Rights Commission. We're very excited today to welcome to you to our 2020 Town Hall and Listening Session. What that is exactly is we as commissioners every year go into different parts of our community and share with what we've been doing the past year and listen to what our community needs. This year, due to COVID, we have had to make some pivots, and we're going digital. And we're really excited because we've had the support of Access Humboldt and KMUD in our efforts in trying to reach all of our community and knowing that you're very rural. So today, if you can't get on Facebook and you can't get on Zoom, please call in to 1-669-900-6833. That's 1-669-900-6833. We really are here to listen to you between 12 and 2 today. I would like to, before we get going and I introduce you to the moderator of this lovely event, I would like to talk to you as a community around how to reach us and work with us. Because as a Human Rights Commission, it really is our role to support and bridge gaps between marginalized communities and those who are creating policy. And we need to hear from those communities in order to build those bridges. So one of the first ways that you can work with us and connect with us is on the county website. If you put in the search bar, Human Rights Commission, our page will come up and you'll see our email and a message line phone number. You can either send us an email to that address or call in and leave a message, and one of our commissioners will check in and call you back and share with you the resources we have, or maybe we'll invite you to come to our next meeting. Now, if you send an email in, we really encourage you to come to the meetings and use that time of public comment. Because when you use public comment, we get to really understand and engage with you to understand why you feel passionate about us taking on an issue. And if we hear your story and we agree that this is something that we should take on, then we as a commission will vote on that and create an ad hoc committee. Then that ad hoc committee will meet and take a look at the issue and determine what we can do. Then they need to come back to the commission and get permission to take that action. And then they go and they work. And an ad hoc committee meets on a regular basis. We do have to follow Brown Act rules, just like the Board of Supervisors. So we are working under restrictions. We also have a regular committee, and they meet about once a month. We have 2 right now. And in that meeting, we have to announce, just like we do our regular meetings, 72 hours in advance, and all the public is welcome. You're also welcome to our ad hoc meetings. Then we have our monthly meeting where we come together as all our committees and commissioners and make decisions to help those committees move forward. So maybe, as you can tell from that description, the government process is slow, but we are here to help you create change, and we really need your engagement to do so. So that being said, please give us a call today between 2 and 12. We're going to have Supervisor Madrone on. You can call us at 1-669-900-6833. And I would like to introduce you to our moderator today and one of our esteemed commissioners, Bird Lochte. Hi, Bird. Thank you for leading this today for us.
Thank you, Lelania. First of all, Lelania, if people are in the queue or in the waiting room, can they hear us? You're letting people in so they can hear us. Thank you. Okay, very good. Welcome to anyone who is is coming from the community. We are very happy to have you here. Lelania has given you a thumbnail sketch of what we do, but I'd like to read to you the purpose of the Human Rights Commission, and I'm reading it directly from our bylaws. The purpose of the Humboldt County Human Rights Commission is to promote tolerance and mutual respect between all persons, and to promote positive human relationships for the purpose of ensuring public peace, health, safety, and the general welfare. I know that's very broad, but we are here to establish good relationships, to help people get along well together, to solve problems if there are problems in our community. And one of the ways we can begin to solve problems is by hearing from you what some of those problems are. But to begin with today, in this morning session, we're going to talk with you a little bit about what we are doing right now. So I'm going to introduce our commissioners who are here today. There are only 4 of us because we have a quorum of 5, and we are not allowed by the Brown Act to have more than 4 of us together unless it is a regular meeting, and this is not a regular meeting. So you met Lelania Dubois, who is the chair of the commission. There's also David Haney, who is our secretary. Did I get that right, David? And Mary Ann Lyons, who is our treasurer. And they will be speaking a little bit later with some of the things that we're going to talk about. If you have the agenda of what we're doing, you know that we are working on a lot of different kinds of things. We are talking about some very, very important things in our community. The first thing I would like to introduce is our Human Trafficking Ad Hoc Committee. And Lelania is going to tell you a little bit more about what has happened with that committee and what we've been doing in the last year or two. So Lelania, will you unmute yourself and tell us?
Absolutely. Thank
human
you
trafficking. Human trafficking.
All right, human trafficking. Well, human trafficking has been a committee now for, gosh, I think it's 3 years now. We started thanks to Elle Snow, and many of you in the community may remember when she came with Game Over and started talking about her experience. She came to us asking us, giving us awareness to how embedded this issue was in our community. I was very honored to get to chair this committee. It was my first committee to really get to chair. And what we first did was, no one knew that it was an issue. We spoke to the sheriffs, we spoke to probation, we spoke to we spoke to many different people in the community, and most people didn't believe that it was an issue, or they attributed it all to one industry in our community. So after a year and a half of looking into that, we determined that what we could do to help was two things. One, we brought all those leaders together because we also learned during that investigation that lots of people were doing things about it, and even more people cared about it, and even more people cared about the quality of life in our community and felt it didn't belong here. And so what we did is we hosted a stakeholders meeting, and as Bert is doing today, she moderated our sheriff's department, our DA's department, DHS, advocates in the industry, organizations that are working around it. And we determined that what we needed was more connection and collaboration and more education. And through that, we went back to the Board of Supervisors and we wrote what's now called the Human Trafficking Grant that is managed by Humboldt Area Foundation. And we wrote that grant or that fund in request for the Board of Supervisors to give us $21,000 in order to give back to individuals, organizations that had missions to help this problem, and that we're bringing all this conversation together. And in the first year, we helped fund an organization called EPI. And what they did with those funds is they created a resource website for the county. It's called the Anti-Human Trafficking website resource page. And there you're able to, there's different layers to it for protection. So a sheriff can go through certain doors that a general public person couldn't go through in order to protect the victims, because as many of you might know or not know, that one of the biggest risks in this issue is that through communication, people get discovered and then they disappear really quickly. So this resource page is something that is very needed and appreciated for the county. And then the other organization was, Bird, could you help me with the name of Kutcha's organization? Because my dyslexia, is it murdered?
It's murdered and
Missing
and murdered Indigenous women and girls.
Right.
Yes.
And we helped fund them creating a dance program that promoted healing and women processing this experience, and educating people who came in to participate in the dance experience. The second year, we held another stakeholders meeting to determine, what do we need to do next? Do we give money in the same direction, or does it need to go somewhere else? And that year we determined that we still needed to give money into bringing the conversation together, into education, but we also wanted to start building healing in places of resolution. And through that investigation, we learned, and I'll really put it to exactly what Sheriff Hansel said to us when we asked, what can we do to make the problem better? And he said, what you can do is empower the community. We need healthy women to make healthy decisions so someone doesn't think they can take advantage of them. And through that, this year, we once again empowered EPI to create more education and a hotline so people could actually call and get help, and do an ad on the back of a bus that is on the line, that there's a lot of history for that kind of behaviors happening and people at risk. And then we also gave some funds to the Arcata Playhouse, and they pivoted really well with COVID, and they were going to do a play. And what they did is they used that into doing an online storytelling series with the organization Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women and Girls. And then our third recipient was a woman with the Girl Scouts who was going for her, is it Gold Star Bird? Is that what it's called?
It's Gold Award. She's she is now a first-year college student. And she has been a Girl Scout all her life. And this is a Gold Award is comparable to an Eagle Scout in Boy Scouts. People know that that term probably more than they know Gold Award. But the Gold Award projects are very intensive. They They're amazing projects that girls come up with, and she had a wonderful project.
Yeah, and she still does, but
Yes.
due to COVID, and her project was really about empowering young women in high school to approach these issues through an empowered position. And so she is pivoting as well with COVID and has extended her project, which we approved, and looking at ways to do that in these new circumstances. We still have a little under $5,000, and we're looking for more folks in this community who would like to participate and help this mission. The biggest requirement is that you show fiscal responsibility through a nonprofit. There are nonprofits that we can help you align with if you are an individual or a business in the community and need that support. Reach out to Humboldt Area Foundation. The application is online. Now, Bird, you're on that committee. Do you have anything else to add?
Well, I think one of the things that we were looking at was hoping for collaboration with groups within the community, because there are so many of them. And I think that Katrina found some collaboration with other groups, with the Seroptimists and so forth. And we want to see even more of that, because there are a lot of groups working on this issue, and we don't want people reinventing the wheel. We want them to work together to solve problems. So any collaboration that you can show in a grant application would definitely be a plus for you.
Yes. And I want to add that, one of the reasons that Bird is emphasizing that so much, both Bird and I have been in this community for a long time, and we are a very small community. And we really know that you can move mountains when everyone works together. But when we don't, it's really hard to take one step forward. So all those do-gooders out there, the more we collaborate, the more we share, the better we move forward. And this human trafficking project is a really good example of that, I think.
Thank you very much, Lelania. I know that some of you on here may have some questions. We will be taking questions at 10:45. But before I go to the next item, I would like to introduce Supervisor Steve Madrone. I see that you're on here now, Steve, and I didn't want to ignore you. So welcome. We're glad to have you here.
Oh, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here, and happy to listen and learn from everybody.
Thank you. So the next topic that we're going to talk about, I'm going to jump, Lelania, so you can get a breath. And we're going to go to David, who is going to talk about the Committee on Racism and Cultural Awareness. You can unmute yourself, David, please.
Thank you, Bird. I appreciate it very much. Thank you all for your time. Thank you for having me. I'm proud to serve on the Human Rights Commission for Humboldt County, and I'm very, very proud to have just been appointed as the chair of the Racism and Cultural Awareness Ad Hoc Committee. This committee is currently looking at kind of a similar plan to what Lelania was talking about earlier with the Human Trafficking Fund. We're looking at creating a plan and moving forward with it, bringing in the right stakeholders, and moving forward with it this upcoming year in 2021. And so there's a lot of need in this community. There's a lot of voices. There's been a lot of listening sessions very recently, actually, in this community, listening sessions that have elevated the voices of BIPOC community members. And I think that this event here goes to do that as well. And I think that that work is very necessary. I think that as we uncover more and more people's experiences of racism in Humboldt County, it's going to be easier to assimilate and then process those experiences for people in this community, so that way we can all get on the same page, acknowledge the problem of racism in this community, and make a plan. So again, I want to thank the community for being a positive point of light in this process, because without the community that has come and stepped forward in the last few years with creating safe spaces and with getting experiences, bubbling experiences up, to the forefront and into conversations, we wouldn't be where we are. So thank you to the people in the community that have continued racial equity work, and keep it going. I appreciate it personally. I want to thank you, and thank you all again for your time and having me on this meeting.
Thank you, David. I like what you've said, and the collaboration, the cooperation between groups in our community is, again, so very, very important. And I would like to add one thing here in terms of how the commission works. Once we have a committee that comes to the full commission with a recommendation, we approve some kind of recommendation, which then we do take to the Board of Supervisors. That is our role, our final role in trying to solve problems. If we come up with a recommendation that we would like to see the supervisors consider, then we do go to them with our recommendation, with the backing of the full commission, and then present that to the Board of Supervisors. So again, thank you, Steve, for being here and listening and getting the ideas that are presented. So now I would like to go to the Sanctuary Committee. Lelania, would you like to give us a few words about that, please? You can unmute yourself. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Bird. The sanctuary. So first I'll explain a little bit what sanctuary is. And I think, a few years ago, we heard the word a lot. San Francisco claimed sanctuary. And we're really fortunate to live in a community that had already taken a lot of actions towards that. But what we did 2 years ago is the Board of Supervisors took real official action and created the sanctuary ordinance. And as the Human Rights Commission, our job is, if there are any complaints filed against our local bodies of government or agencies, is that we investigate those reports and then bring back a report to the Board of Supervisors around those complaints. Those complaints are filed through those agencies or the Sheriff's Department, but we also have our hotline and email that people can email us into. And as I mentioned yesterday, but haven't today, we're also working on getting a human rights survey for everyone to answer on our county website.
Thank you, Lelania. I think
I'd like to add something around that. So one of the concerns around that is one of our full committees. And we have had no reports, I'm thankful to say, in the past 2 years. However, we do have a little concern and have gotten some feedback from the community that there is a gap in communication between the Latino community and folks who would be filing those reports in fear around reporting with the Sheriff's Department. I want to make it a little bit clearer as to what sanctuary is, because I was having a hard time getting my mind really understanding it. And really what it means is that the county's government bodies are mandated to not report to federal agents around deportation issues. If that happens, then that is when there is a violation of that ordinance. So I want to make it clear that if there's a language barrier or there's a fear barrier, please use us as a commission to help bridge those gaps for you.
Thank you, Lelania. I did want you to bring that out. We do want to be sure that people know how to make a complaint if it's necessary. So thank you. I'd like to go now to the Cannabis Inquiry Survey with Marianne Lyons. Would you like to give us a few words about that, Marianne? You can unmute yourself. Thank you.
Sure. There were some concerns brought up by our community surrounding human rights in the cannabis industry. And a committee was formed. And out of that committee, we chose to see how we could get more information. So the committee worked diligently and hard to create a survey that we have up online and active. If anybody needs to get to that survey, they can go to the Humboldt County Human Rights Commission page. I think that we're sharing it on other social platforms as well. And it simply is asking for information so that we can determine what is going on in that industry surrounding human rights, pre-legalization and post-legalization, so that we can do what we can to bring forward that information to the County Board of Supervisors once we have been able to create I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Once we've been able to create a document that kind of shares what our community members have said. We've had a good response so far. We're close to 100 survey participants. We're looking for a couple hundred more, hopefully. We have been able to work together with UC Berkeley to be able to really fine tune and look for ways to get the information from the community. And as we move forward, we hope that we'll be able to address this issue with some real knowledge from the community. Lelania, would you like to add to that?
You did an excellent job, Mary. Thank you. But I do want to add to it, of course. First, I want to add that we've also had some amazing support from diverse aspects of the community. LICA has shared this inquiry throughout all law enforcement agencies, as well as International Cannabis Farmers Association has been incredibly supportive in sharing this out through all of their networks, which is incredibly exciting. Really, this survey is to hear what everyone has experienced, because from a personal perspective and growing up with this community, and when I became a commissioner, I found it difficult to understand how we could really address issues like homelessness, like education, things that were happening around us when we weren't able to just discuss what had been identified as the biggest economic engine in our community. And historically, human rights are always in the middle of these transitions. If you look at South Africa, if you look at all these places across the world, there's always, this is where humanity really gets tested, and how do we fit these new policies? So I'm really, really excited that now with legalization, we get to really ask our community and see how it is and how it has impacted our humanity, not so we can point fingers at anybody, but so we can create better solutions and move forward.
Elena, could you explain to people what LICA means? Not everybody may know what that acronym stands for.
Oh, darn it. I can't, me and my dyslexia. LICA, I'm not going to give you the right words for it, but what it is it's all the leaders of law enforcement, the federal agencies, the sheriff's department, the police departments. Their leadership comes together, kind of like how our board of supervisors come together, and they have a monthly meeting where they work through their problems and discuss, so they're all on the same page. So the sheriff's department isn't over here and the federal department's over here, so they're all on the same page. So what that means when they're supporting us is they put that survey out through all of those agencies as well.
So, and as Elena said, we're trying to get a broad cross section so that we have law enforcement, we have education, we have community members, we have business owners, we have growers, we have family members, so that we're trying to get a broad picture of how everybody feels about, quite honestly, the intersection between cannabis and human rights in Humboldt County, because it is a very important thing that we're trying to really address out in the open, and I think that it's time, and I think that it's important so that we can move forward positively in our community with this industry.
Thank you, Marianne. And thank you, Lelania, too, for this. Steve, yes.
LICA, Law Enforcement Chiefs Association.
There we
go. Thank you very much. I thought you might be giving us that.
Well,
thank you, Steve.
I also, Steve, you can't respond to the chat, can you?
No, possibly.
Okay.
Yes, I can. Yes, I
can.
can.
Maybe you could put that in there. That would be
Okay.
great. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. All right. The next topic is digital accessibility, and I'm going to give you just a few words about that. The ad hoc committee working on that realized very quickly with COVID that we had to do a lot of changing. And we have been having our meetings, every monthly meeting we have had on Zoom. And we realized that that made it possible for people to attend our meetings without driving from Garberville to Eureka. So we've been talking about how we might be able to use some of the good things that happened from COVID in the future so that we can access and make our meetings more accessible to our rural county. So that's one of the things that we've been working on. We're looking at some kind of recommendation that perhaps we're going to ask the Board of Supervisors to send to the state in looking at changes to the Brown Act so that we would be able to continue to have this kind of accessibility for our rural community. So that is one of the things we're working on. We're also working on our internal accessibility and communication during COVID, of course, but it has made it possible for us to meet, our ad hoc committees to meet, and to go forward with our work without having to go against the recommendations of meeting and so forth. So the committee is working very hard to be sure that our meetings are accessible throughout our county. And this is one of the examples. We had planned to have a meeting in Garberville area and one in Willow Creek area and one up in Oric. And now you can come to any of them because you can come from Oric or Garberville at the same time. So that's what the committee is working on. And now I'd like to come to our last area, and that is our kindness committee. And I'm going to ask Marianne to tell us a little more about that. If you'll unmute yourself, Marianne, thank you.
All right, so the kindness committee has gone through a few iterations. When we first started addressing kindness, it sounded a little different. Throughout our community, there was some acts of hate speech and other acts, and it was brought to the attention of the Human Rights Committee to look into what we could do to address that. So originally this committee was called the Anti-Hate Speech Committee or the Anti-Hate Committee. And after long thought, to say that word over and over again just didn't seem, it just kept bringing the negative. So we voted as a committee to literally change the name to the Kindness Committee so that we could, instead of addressing acts of hate, we thought that we would start addressing acts of kindness. So some of the things that we have done as we started moving forward on the Kindness Committee, we created a hashtag. I encourage everyone to use the hashtag as often as possible. It's just hashtag Humboldt Kindness. If you read something in the news, if you see something on your Facebook page and you want to reshare it, if something happens in your home, in your community, your neighbors, or other things, I strongly encourage folks to use hashtag Humboldt Kindness. We also have a Humboldt Kindness group now on Facebook. So we're trying to create a good social presence around acts of positivity and acts of kindness. We have so far over 300 members on the Humboldt Kindness group page. We get pretty constant. We've had LICA, law enforcement has shared kind acts that they see, Food for People, community members, several of our supervisors, commissioners, and others have shared, but I strongly encourage everybody who's on today to join the group if you already don't belong to Humboldt Kindness, and to also use the hashtag Humboldt Kindness. It can be used across all platforms. I've used it on TikTok. It can be used on Instagram. It can be used on Twitter. It can be used on Facebook. So whatever social platforms you have. And the reason that we're sticking with that for now is a lot to do with the COVID. We can't do much out in the community. When we did table as a committee, or commission, I apologize, committee on the commission, we could table and we handed out stickers that we gave to people for acts that they could give to other people when they saw acts of kindness. It would say Humboldt Kindness on it. We encourage any and all ideas when we're able to be open and out in the community again, where we hope to do some things like some trainings, bystander intervention trainings and other things like that when we're able to be in the community again as a whole. But that's kind of the Kindness Committee in a nutshell.
Thank you very much, Mary Ann. Would you like to add something, Lelania?
I do, just because we had some comments around this yesterday, and I want to clarify something. Some people were disturbed that we transformed a committee that was being focused on racial slurs and things like that into Humboldt Kindness and thought we were softening it. And I want to explain that what we did is, yes, we created the Humboldt Kindness Committee to promote acts of kindness, but we also did two other things that original committee was doing. That original committee had a very full agenda. And something that I didn't mention in the opening that I did yesterday that I should have is that we are a fully volunteered commission. We do not have a budget, and we all sit here and create all these things you're hearing about on our own time. So that being said, we needed to break up the mission of that original anti-hate committee into three groups. So we created the Humboldt Kindness Campaign to not only bring acts of kindness together, but to start educating our community on acts of kindness. Then we created the Racism and Cultural Awareness Committee to actually really do something about it. Then we also created the Digital Accessibility Committee because, as Bird mentioned and Eddie mentioned yesterday, we started really understanding that how we're acting in this digital world matters. And so we wanted to build ourselves as a commission better and stronger that way. So I just wanted to add that aspect to it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Lelania. I meant to mention that it was originally everything all thrown into one. It was racism, it was just everything. And normally, the most people we can have on the committee is 4, but normally there's 3 on a committee. So it became convoluted. So we wanted to separate kindness from, exactly what you said, so that we could, it's kind of nice, especially during these times, to open up my Facebook page and say, wow, I didn't know that happened in my community. Thank you for heading that hashtag and or sharing on the group page. So I encourage all of you to join the group and share the group, because it's even better than seeing puppy pictures to see acts of kindness, I'll tell you what.
Thank you, Mary Ann. And thank you, Lelania, for clarifying that. One thing I would like to say is that our commission has room for 15 people. We only have 10 or 11 right now. So you can see we've got six areas that we've talked to you about. That's an awful lot of committees for each one of us to be on. And as Lelania said, we are all volunteers. We do not have a budget from the county, although they do take care of the cost of our website and our phone, which is actually not a hotline, Lelania. It's more like a warm line because it's checked once a day, or at least once a day, but it's not open all the time. People have to call in and leave a message. So
why don't we share a little bit more about that, about the phone number and stuff?
The human trafficking number is a hotline. Just want to make sure that there's a difference there.
It is, but the commission phone number is not a hotline. It is just, do you have that number? Let's see, it's 268-2548. Is that correct? I get that right?
I think you did, but I will check and get back to, if it's wrong, I'll make sure that we correct that.
And would you put it in the chat, please, Lelania? Thank you. All right. Well, we're at the point now where it's the time for people who are listening in or here with us. Sorry.
Thought we missed an item, but we didn't.
No. So, and I know that we have, is it Katiane and Brenda who are here with us. And I don't know who's listening, who's on phone, on Facebook, wherever you are. If you have a question or a comment about any of the things we've just talked about, we'd like to hear from you now. So if you would like to speak, please let us know. We'll unmute you and let you either ask your question or give us your comment. Thank you.
I'd like to add to Bird's message that also at noon today, we come back on and have the full listening session where not only will we discuss the topics on our agenda, but we also want to hear what you think we need to do. And we'll discuss what we think we're going to be coming up and doing. But today, this morning, we're really trying to help you learn how to work with us and show you what we're doing. And we love your feedback right now on these issues. How can we improve? What are we missing? Or maybe how can you help?
Thank you. Thank you, Lelania. So do we have any questions?
If you have a question, you can also use the note below in the chat box to raise your hand, or you can send me a note in the chat box and I will get you on. Oh, good job, David.
If you don't have questions, it's okay if you just introduce yourself and let us know who you are and why you chose to listen in today. So you don't have to have a specific question at this moment. You could just simply say, hey, I'm here because I want to know what you guys are doing and this is who I am. So I'd love to get to know the people who are here listening as well. So
Thank you.
Supervisor Madrone came on early.
Yes. Do you have anything you'd like to ask us about or comment on, Steve?
Well, nothing specific at this point. I mean, I'm taking notes, and later at noon, I'm certainly going to offer up some different ideas and such. But I really like that you changed the focus on that one item. What was it? Stopping. It was more about stopping the anger, stopping. I forget the term.
Anti-hate.
Hate, yes.
Anti-hate. I really like it when we shift from what we're against to what we're for.
Yes.
You know, that's just such a positive way to approach things. And I wanted to note that's really awesome that you've done that. And, you know, at some point we can talk about other things. I have been a bit concerned about the sanctuary ordinance in our community and how there are a number of public officials that still do not support it, even though the majority of the community voted for it. And I don't want to get into negatives here per se, but that does concern me. And, you know, so I'm hoping that over time, those individuals can get further education, which is what you're doing here today, is trying to help educate the community, help bring us together on these very important issues so that we can all, whether we agree or not, at least support things like that, because it means a lot to people that are in our community as members of our community. So
Thank you.
I'll just leave it at that.
I saw a question.
No, wait just a moment, please, Mary Ann. Wait till
No
I
worries.
recognize you.
Good.
Mute yourself, please. Lelania.
So I'd like to say that I'm moderating the chat box, so we don't need any feedback on that. And David's supporting me on that. We've got it covered. But I wanted to respond to Steve because we've felt the same. We empathize with what you're feeling. And we're right now through the Racism and Cultural Awareness Committee working on getting interpreters. And through David's work, part of that work is creating that trust with that community so they do feel safe in reporting, because what we're hearing is there's a lot of fear about reporting and it's not completely clear even to us, and I've done some research on how to report. And it looks like that might go through the sheriff's department, but we're not really clear on that yet.
So, thank you, Lelania. I wonder, Brenda, you put your picture up now. Welcome. Would you like to comment on this? I know that this is something that you are interested in.
Thank you, and thank you for all your efforts, for all your work, for your passion for human rights. I've been attentively listening and wondering how will be that we can enhance the cooperation with groups, with grassroots groups. This is something that is being ongoing in the presentation, to work with groups. So I wonder first if you have any plan or calendar specific or a way to make this outreach to work together. And I wanna just congratulate everybody here, still thinking that there might be a more proactive exercise from the committee, the commission, to approach people, not only Latinx, but all the immigrants in different languages. So if anything, we need to work together on that.
Yes, thank you. I wonder if you have any idea, would there be people from Centro de Pueblo who would want to work with a committee of the commission to come up with some ideas of what we should be doing?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we can work together. We just need a schedule, but let's start 2021. We can have a series of meetings, and we are open to do so. So we have now more experience during the pandemic, navigating the pandemic along the county. So we have a good x-ray of how is this looking in Southern Humboldt, for example. And we want to bring this knowledge to the commission to make a good job down there.
Great, thank you very much. Lelania, you had your hand up, and then you're next, Mary.
I just wanted to reassure her that that is definitely one of the discussions that David and the commission have been having around some of the actions that the Racism and Cultural Awareness Committee can address. We understand that there's a gap in communication, and we would love to be able to have, as Bird said, connect with you guys and have some meetings so we can figure out how to support more effectively.
Thank you. Marianne, you had your hand up.
Hi, Brenda. It's good to see your face. I haven't seen you in a long time, first of all. But I did want to encourage you. We did list the phone number in the chat box, and between now and when we're able to do something more broadly, that phone number is always available. And if somebody calls in and leaves us a message, we can be the intermediary, because we're the only people who get that message line. We would take that request if it was a sanctuary ordinance related request. And I do still have your information. So if we needed a good translator, if we don't have one available, we would work with somebody with Centro del Pueblo to address that issue for that particular person at that time. So I don't want you to think that you can't do anything at this time. You can call that message line or tell anybody in your community, pass that number out to folks, that is a secure message line that only the commissioners listen to. And we would be very willing and able to help them navigate whatever process by, being there for them as a human rights commissioner. So that is one way that you can get in touch with us right now, or anybody else in the community could get in touch with us right now so that we could do something as an intermediary so that a person feels safe.
Thank you. Thank you. Lelania, did you put the phone number into the chat? Or maybe David?
They don't need the phone number in the chat, but the phone number is on the Facebook feed and all the external information that's going out there.
Okay, good.
Oh, our phone number is, I'll put our phone number in. You mean our message line? Yeah, I'll put that
message line. Yes.
I wanna just make it clear, our message line is not secure. we are the only ones who answer it. We erase those messages afterwards, and we do not publicly share that information, but it is not a technically secure hotline, and it's not regulated under any policy to make it that way. But we as commissioners do work really hard to protect that information. And that is part of our job when people come and report to us, is to protect you as well.
Thank you. Now I see that we have somebody else has joined without a picture, Envoy 707. Is that somebody who would like to introduce himself, herself, or have a question or a comment? You could unmute yourself if you would like to say something. Okay, am I getting this name correct? Katyani?
Very close. Katya Yanni.
Katya Yanni, thank you. I know you've been listening very patiently. I wondered if you had a question or a comment.
I just thought I'd accept your invitation to introduce myself and share why I'm here. I just learned about your organization. I live in Arcata, and thank you so much for existing. I think it's wonderful what you're doing. I love learning about all these wonderful, important projects you're working on. So thank you so much. I got an invite somehow. I probably liked your page or something on Facebook. And I just recently, I'm working on right now launching an entirely new social justice movement to protect the rights of natural people or anyone who makes a natural lifestyle choice. So I thought it would be good to connect in with you all and join in the listening sessions, because it's just something that I feel this new social justice movement, I feel is important. It's based on the need of the day, basically. So thank you so much for providing this platform.
Well, thank you for your comments. And I hope you will come back at noon for the listening session, where we'll have some more time to hear what people have to say. The topic which we will throw out to everyone is what you think the state of human rights in Humboldt County is right now. And we're asking the community to tell us where we are right now and perhaps what we need to do to improve things. So thank you all for being here. Do we have any other comments or questions?
We do have one question. Hold on, let me get back, from Tanya Horlick. The question is from KMED News. Many houseless residents, but this might be for the listening sessions. Many houseless residents in Southern Humboldt lack access to clean facilities, shelter, water, and food at times, if not every day. There is currently no inclement weather shelter in Southern Humboldt, and one of the only public buildings, the Garberville Library, is being reconstructed. How can the Human Rights Commission take action to protect basic human needs of SoHum's houseless people? Do you need the public to comment on the issue?
Well, I believe that, yes, there will be comments about that this afternoon, but if someone has a comment now, we are taking comments. I know that we did not talk about houselessness and people without shelter. We have considered that for many years. Actually, the Human Rights Commission has worked on this for quite a long time. It is not something that we talked about today, but because we don't have a committee for it right now. But we have worked with some of the other groups in the community that are working on this kind of thing. So I think maybe this afternoon we'll talk more about it, but if someone has anything they would like to say now, definitely we will take that. Lelania?
I think this is another good opportunity to educate on how we as a commission can impact change. And like Bird said, this has been on our agenda for quite a while, but we are a volunteer commission. And on top of that, So we have this grassroots aspect, but we're a government body. So we have to follow within those steps of policy. So there's a lot of restriction. So the way we're able to support change the most is by working with other individuals and organizations that are doing something about it. And when I first came on the commission, what we were doing in Southern Humboldt is we were meeting with a local group and helping them how we could in supporting them navigating. I'm not sure, that was a few years ago, and it wasn't a committee that I was a part of. I was just a part of organizing the meeting. But that's, so if there's local organizations and if there's people who have ideas, then we can find ways, whether it's helping promoting them, whether it is us creating a committee and taking a request to the Board of Supervisors. There's a lot of diverse ways that we can support, but we move bigger mountains when we have our community to empower.
Yes.
And this, I'd like to add that this month is Homelessness Memorial Awareness Day on December 21st. And AHA is looking for ways to hold a safe vigil. So if anybody would like to look into that and participate, and we do have homelessness coming up on, it was on our last agenda, but we had so much work to do. We had to push it to January's agenda, and we will be discussing it this January.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. We do have until 11:30 today if we have more questions or comments from anyone, but we will be meeting again at noon with everybody who's here from the commission and with Supervisor Madrone. And I hope that you will come back and that more people will come back with their ideas about the state of human rights in Humboldt County. So any other comments right now? Anything in the chat, Lelania?
You are muted, Lelania.
Brenda, thank you, Brenda. How can people access the mechanism to complain related to sanctuary law? I would like to answer that at noon, because I did some research trying to find that out in I believe, but I don't know this for sure because I haven't found the answer, and maybe Supervisor Madrone can answer better at noon. But I believe it's through the sheriff's website. Would
this be a time for him to answer it as well, since we have a little bit of time? Steve, would you have anything to say about that? You could unmute yourself.
No, I don't know. I'm sorry.
I'll do some research between now and the 12 o'clock session and see if, and I'll even call Sheriff Hansel and see if I can't get an answer, although it's Saturday, so I can't promise that, but I will try.
All right. So if we have no more questions and no more comments, I think we'll close this session, Lelania.
I do want to say, though, our Human Rights Commission county email, you can send us complaints, and you can also call that message line and leave your information as a complaint. And if you don't feel comfortable leaving that information and you wish to just file a complaint, those, it's like stacking things up. Those matter, and we do mention them in our meetings. So however you wish to communicate, please do feel free to communicate with us, and then that'll give us more pieces to help find the answers.
Thank you. And just to assure you, if you call the phone line, we talk about the issue, but we never use the name of anybody who calls in. That is kept private. It's only on the person who takes the phone message and on the record that we have. So don't feel that your name, if you leave your name, that is going to be mentioned in the meeting. It will not be. Make that very clear. Anybody, commissioners, do you have anything else that you would like to, you could unmute yourself and say anything. David, do you have anything you'd like to add to what we've said this morning?
I'd like to add that I am really glad to see, kind of echoes what I said before, but I'm really glad to see the people that are coming forward in this community, especially on this Human Rights Commission and other organizations, because like Lelania said, this is volunteer work, and a lot of the equity work in this community is volunteer. And so, you know, nobody's getting paid to do this work, but there's passion in everybody's hearts. And I'm glad to see the opportunity for the Human Rights Commission create the opportunity for people to come together from different organizations with different perspectives, with different passions to create the community that we all want to see, you know, a brighter community for all of us.
Thank you. Marianne, you want to unmute? Oh, you're already unmuted. Do you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I just appreciate the folks that are listening on Facebook right now, and I appreciate the folks that are here. And thank you for being willing to move human rights forward in our community, in our county, and
Thank
for our
you.
neighbors and for ourselves.
Lelania?
Well, I want to say thank you to the commission, to each of you for taking the time. And I want to say thank you to this commission for existing. We've been in existence for a very long time. I think is it 1964, Bird?
Something
And
like that.
I feel quite privileged to get to be a part of this and work with all of you because as David said, we are all really genuinely here because we care, and we all come from such diverse experiences that I think there's a lot of value in that in our decision-making process. So I am really proud to be a part of this. And I want to thank everyone who has participated so far and encourage all of you to come back at noon and either, you know, check us out on our Facebook page or give us a call at 1-669-900-6833. And Supervisor Madrone will be joining us then, and we'll also be streaming on KMUD.
Thank you, Lelania. Brenda, did you, I see you put your picture up again. Did you have something you wanted to add? You could unmute yourself.
Maybe to highlight the importance of having someone like David Heaney in the commission, because this is a strong message for BIPOC communities. So we're gonna come and participate in these groups, and that not only that we can, but we can try to change. You know, it's not only having the access, but having a voice. And I feel happy that this is opening, and I just congratulate BIPOC are represented here. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. And Katyayani, thank you for showing up. And Envoy, whoever you are, I don't have your picture, but thank you for being here. And as Lelania said, we will gather again at 12 o'clock. It's the same Zoom. Is that right, Lelania?
It is, and we're gonna stay on. So we won't be on, we'll all be muted and doing our things, but the stream will keep going. So we hold our space in the the bandwidth world.
Oh, okay, good. All right. So thank you all for being here. And I look forward to seeing your faces. Let's see, did somebody else? You have a hand up. Yes, you unmute yourself, please. Katyani? Oh, thank you. Thank you. And these are the way you give hugs these days.
Oh, I love that, Bird. Yeah.
So,
We look like an emoji, a hug emoji.
yes. So thank you all. And
Thank you,
see you
Bird.
again at noon.
Great job, Bird. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm getting this thing up for us.
Okay. I was trying to save my chat, but it doesn't let me do it. They used to let me.
Well, we're still streaming, Bird, so it won't let you.
Oh, okay. They will let
until the end of this.
Okay, good. All right. Well, we'll see you all at noon.
All right. Thanks.
Bye. Okay.
Bye, everybody.
I'm back, Lelania, but I'm going to get rid of my picture because I'm still eating.
That's fine. What you see as my screen share is what the community sees, but they can hear us.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, commissioners and Supervisor Madrone, we have about 1 more minute before we begin. We are not the video on, but we are vocally on live, just so everyone knows. Welcome back, David, Marianne, Bird.
Thank you. Okay. Oops.
All right, so I'll do a brief welcoming, Bird, and kind of just do the same thing I did before.
Yep.
And we'll start.
Okay.
All right, well, welcome everybody. I hope you guys are joining back in. Today, right now, is part 2 of the Humboldt County Human Rights Town Hall and Listening Sessions. This part is what we are calling a listening session. And it really is us wanting to listen to you. Yesterday, we had a great conversation with Sheriff Hansel and Supervisor Bass and Commissioner Morgan and myself and Commissioner Sundberg. But we didn't get as much community input as we had hoped for. And it ended up being a great conversation with a lot of information. But really what I want the community to understand is that what we're really hoping for is to get your input. And then we'll digest all that and understand where we need to focus on the next year. And that being said, my name is Lelania, and I am the chair of the Humboldt County Human Rights Commission. And I am going to real briefly go through how to work with us as a commission and then introduce you to our moderator, Bird Lochte, and she is going to take it away from here. So first of all, today, the first half of today, we went over our agenda items and the things that we've been working on to share with the community what we have been doing. So if you're interested in any of those things like human trafficking, sanctuary, racism and cultural awareness, digital accessibility, cannabis inquiry, please take a look at this AM session. We also have space this afternoon. We hope you ask us questions around any of that, or any input you have around those issues are very welcomed. So this afternoon is really about you. We also have Supervisor Madrone here today to listen and engage with you as a community around these issues. Really briefly, I want to share with you how you can work with us on a regular basis and how we need your support. There's a few ways. One is through our email. You can go onto the Humboldt County site and put in the search bar, the human rights, and our page will come up. And if you scroll down, you'll see our email, which is hhr@co.humboldt.ca.us. You can also call us on our message line, which is answered daily, but it is not a hotline. It's just a way for us to communicate, to receive your communications. And that number is 707-268-2548. And what we do is we check in and we'll call you back on that message line. We do not publicly use your name, but if you do have something to add, we will share that at our monthly meetings, but we will respect your privacy completely. We are here to help you, not hurt you. Then once that happens, we have monthly meetings, and there is a public comment time, just like the Board of Supervisors. We manage under the Brown Act, and we work very much as the Board of Supervisors do. And there is a public comment time. And if you have an issue that you feel we need to address, or if you wish to educate us on something, or if you wish to share something with us, that is the time. And I can tell you, and I can promise you that coming and speaking to us makes a big impact. In fact, most of our agenda items are because of the community coming to our meetings and using their voice. And so today we're going to sit here for 2 hours. KMUD is streaming right now. You can call into them. Access Humboldt is also playing this. You can find us on Facebook Live as well. You can put comments, ask questions in the chat box of Facebook Live. You can also call in to us on Zoom, which is 1-669-900-6833. And the link to Zoom, if you wish to come on camera and have more fun with us, is on the Facebook page in the Facebook event. It's also, you can find it on KMUD's resources. And now I would like to introduce to you to a woman who has put a lot of heart and soul into this commission. Oh, and I want to add that we are a volunteer commission. So all of the work you see that we've done and all the people that you're going to meet today really do this 100% from their hearts and their passion and how they feel about community. So please respect them, and we're here to hear from you. So Commissioner Bird is going to moderate this event for us. Hi, Bird. Thank you.
Thank you, Lelania. First of all, Lelania, do we have anyone in the queue or in the waiting room? Because I'd like you to let them in, please.
They are in now.
Everybody.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. It really helps me if I can see who's here, especially if they're willing to put up their picture, although that's not absolutely necessary. Hi there. We're welcome back. So as Lelena said, this is a listening session. We will be able to have a conversation with you if you have a question, but our purpose is to hear what you have to say about us. And about human rights in Humboldt County. The state of human rights in Humboldt County is what we would like you to tell us about. Hello, Libby. Good to see you. So I will introduce the rest of the commission members who are here. You met Lelania, who is our chair. There's also Mary Ann Lyons, who is our treasurer, and David Haney, who is our secretary. And he's taking all kinds of good notes about everything that you're telling us. So I'm going to open it up now to anyone who, Lelania?
We have one more guest.
Junie?
No, Supervisor Madrone is with
us.
us.
I'm sorry. Oh,
second half.
Oh dear. Well, I always have to make one mistake or it's not a good forum. So yes, Supervisor Madrone, who is here to listen as well. So thank you all for being here. And thank you, those of you from the public who are signing on with us. Now is your time. If you would like to indicate that you want to speak, I will ask you to unmute yourself and you can tell us what you think about the state of human rights in Humboldt County. Libby, was that saying you wanted to speak? And unmute yourself, and thank you, Libby.
Thank you. I'm really pleased to be here today to contribute and support your mission and everything the Human Rights Commission does. I've been thinking, and since Bird sent me the announcement, I've been thinking a lot about how best to contribute. And I think what I can do is to encourage you to use one of the best tools that you have in this community to not only help prevent, but educate and respond to the state of human rights, uh, and that is to employ the arts. Uh, you, the arts go straight to the heart, and people who shut down when they hear human rights, you can get through that roadblock. And you know, whether it's writing or visual arts or theater or uh, music, any kind of arts, video, you know, we have it here in spades, and it's really one of the strongest tools that you will have in your toolbox to not only, I'm sorry, the dog next door is very loud, um, to not only have the strongest effects that you want, but also to really help educate people so that they're more aware, so that you know, when they see something, they'll say something. When they if they know someone who has either been a survivor or is in a situation, uh, they will know where to go because they've seen a great poster or heard a wonderful play. Um, so I think, you know, what you're doing is really great because you're on a number of different media doing this. It's hard to get the word out in Humboldt County. It's a, it's a great word of mouth place, but the way to catch people's attention is with a message that really resonates directly to the heart. And it's also, the arts, of course, are the one of the best healing modalities that you can find. Uh, you know, I saw a thing about uh, playing traditional Turkish music after heart surgery to a patient, and it enhanced their recovery time and lowered their blood pressure. And you know, so the arts affect us in many different ways, and it's really our basic humanity that we're expressing through the arts, because the arts are really probably the only way we're different from animals, other animals. And having this tool at your disposal is something, all you have to do is ask. You know, artists are incredibly passionate. They're generally people who care a lot for humanity and others. And, you know, it's always nice if they can get paid, but mostly they'll do it without getting paid. You know, it's why I guess I've dedicated myself to the arts in this community, you know, because it's so powerful as a means of communication. And yeah, here we are on video. I mean, you know, it's
Thank you. No, not right now, Marianne. I wanted to ask Libby if she would be be specific when you say just ask. How do we go about asking? Who should we ask? Um, how how would we do that?
so there are a number of like newsletters and things like Being People has its monthly newsletter, as well as our ink blotter, which goes out mostly weekly, which is just a compendium of opportunities and events and things happening in and around the county, things that people can do to distract themselves during the pandemic. And it's so we're happy to get the word out that way. Certainly, you have a Facebook page. You could cross post to like the Ink People Facebook page. There are other arts organizations that would be happy to carry the message. I think that's probably the easiest to get the word out.
Okay, well, thank you. Do any commissioners have a question for Libby? Marianne, you can unmute yourself.
First of all, Libby, I want to thank you for being here. I've known you all the way back since Forrest Stern Empire Square days, all the way through the Mars Project with Jerome. And you've always been a leader in our community, helping provide safe places for our youth to come and congregate and learn and be able to be expressive with their art, which absolutely speaks to the heart of human rights. To be able to have a child or a young person be able to feel safe and connected in their community and appreciated for their artistic capabilities. So I just wanted to applaud you for that and let you know that with the Kindness Committee, I am looking into having an art contest in the spring. So I'll be reaching out to you myself as a commissioner to move that process forward. We really want to connect with Humboldt Kindness. And I'm still familiar with a lot of the local artists, Donovan, Sonny, Dwayne. So I look forward to reaching out to you to get some more information on how I can spread that. And again, for me, I just want to thank you on a personal level and as a commissioner for all you've done in our community for so many years. I think very highly of you.
Thank you, Marianne. Lelania, unmute yourself.
I'm so used to not being muted. Libby, I want to thank you. I have, growing up in this community, I have been impacted by your work a few times over, as well as my mother, and I appreciate your work very much. What I just want to ask, if you could send me directly through the county email the exact contacts, because one of the biggest gaps that we're having to bridge is who do we actually reach out to for those resources. So that would be a great help. And I think there's a lot of ways that we could collaborate and create some good things. So Bird, the second thing I wanted to bring up is we did just start again, and we did just go on to KMED. So we have this whole new audience, and I was hoping that we could allow the commissioners and Supervisor Madrone really briefly take a few minutes and answer the question as well to help stimulate our community in the conversation.
Okay, all right. Well, I just want to thank Libby again for coming and giving us some things to think about and ways to get some more help. The more collaborating we can do, the better it will be for our community. So thank you very much, Libby. I appreciate you taking your Saturday to come and do this for us. So yes, thank you, Lelania. I will ask, let's start with Supervisor Madrone and ask him the state of human rights in Humboldt County from your point of view. You may unmute yourself, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Locke. So good to see you, Libby. You know, I have really fond memories of the Mascabition events at the old Eureka Muni down in the basement there, wherever it was. And I was just thinking how right now under COVID, we're in a whole new state of Mascabition here, you know, in terms of people's creativeness in forming their masks to keep each other safe. And it's just a world of wonder out there with all the different masks. And we're having to learn to read each other's eyes and other things, you know, and take cues in different ways. So, you know, the state of human rights right now is really pretty gnarly for all of us with COVID. and other things. And so, the arts are just such a wonderful way for people to heal, to express themselves, to connect with each other, and all those things. So I just wanted to thank you and the Ink people for your decades. I mean, decades of service to our community and helping us all heal and process stuff, because that's in my sweetheart's art world, Oceana. There's just so much processing that goes on for all of us in the work in art and music and all of those things. So thank you for bringing that up. Um, well, I will say that the state of human rights in Humboldt County, I think, we're lucky to be where we are. I know I give thanks every day to live in such an incredible place. And it's tough times for all of us, for certain. These unprecedented days we're all experiencing. So it's even more important that we work to be kind to each other. So I really appreciate the kindness campaign. A little consideration and some empathy certainly goes a long way. And even more now that we're all sort of isolated from each other. But yet we're all together here, and these Zoom platforms and other things allow us to see each other and make these connections. So I guess what I'm looking at is not focusing so much on the really tough stuff that's going on right now, but what are the opportunities that are coming from this situation? And certainly it is driving us to try and figure out new ways to connect with each other. It's giving us a chance to spend a lot of time with our close households, the people that are in our pods, so to speak, and reconnect in ways that our fast lifestyles often don't allow us to do. So I guess I'm trying to look at the silver lining here of what it gives for our community to try and reconnect with each other on so many things. But yeah, in Humboldt County, we have a lot of issues that are affecting our community, from homelessness to transportation equity, human trafficking, and cannabis, and all these things. I am pleased to see that in the cannabis world, I think things are getting better as we have tried to help people move out of the illegal market into the legal market, and trying to bring people out of the shadows so that we can hopefully have less people being abused and taken advantage of in those areas. So I'm going to leave it at that for right now. What I really wanted to do was listen today as much as I can, but offer any thoughts as we go along. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. I'm going to start with you, Lelania. You may unmute yourself and you can speak to us about the state of human rights in Humboldt County from your point of view.
Well, I appreciate a lot of what Supervisor Madrone said. I also am very grateful to live here and very grateful for how the community addresses issues and works through these problems. However, I've also experienced and had too many friends who've experienced the decline of that community that we all love so much. And I think that with cannabis legalization, with COVID, that there is a lot of opportunity to dig in and create change. And so I see those problems, homelessness, and I just feel really excited because I feel like COVID has helped us really see these problems and determine and allow us as a commission to grab hold a little stronger and have more support and get our community more involved. So it is at a difficult state. Could we mute that?
Please.
It is in a difficult state because that is the state of the world. But living here, I have great hope because I have seen this community address some really difficult global issues and lead in how we move forward. So I see opportunity and I'm just excited to get to have the conversations around them and get support.
Thank you, Lelania. David Haney, you may unmute and give us your point of view on the state of human rights in Humboldt County.
Thank you, Bird, and thank you all for the time. As a resident of Humboldt County for 17 years and as a graduate of Humboldt State University, I have myself been human rights has been a very important issue for me and myself. I've been on the board of directors of a local civil liberties defense fund, because these types of issues, people's rights and civil liberties and human rights are important to me. And even in this small area, I think that there's a lot of need right now, but I think that we can work together to address it and to change it. I've like I said, I've personally dealt with racism for the 17 years that I've been here, and whether it's basically a daily to weekly basis. When you go out and you go into stores that where you're just getting different looks and getting treated differently compared to other people. Right. And it can be those sometimes subtle things that really add up. Right. People maybe not necessarily making the safest decisions on the road with me when they see me driving a car. Things like that happen, I want to, say a dozen plus times a year after 17 years really builds up to a situation that I know other people just like me face. And it's really a traumatic, demoralizing situation for other BIPOC community members in this community. And I want to make sure as a commissioner that I can try to represent the BIPOC community members and try to address this situation to mitigate these harms and traumas that Black and brown people face in Humboldt County. I also think that human trafficking is a very important issue in Humboldt County, and houselessness and homelessness is a very important issue. We per capita have quite a large homeless population, and their needs are often forgotten. And I really appreciate the last couple of meetings that the Human Rights Commission's had discussing issues of homelessness. We brought on Winchell Dillenbeck at the last meeting, and the meeting before last, and then the last meeting we brought on Nezzy Wade. And I think that if we could continue to propel and give the voices in the community that are important, that our stakeholders in our different marginalized communities a place and a voice, that's good work for the Human Rights Commission. And lastly, I just want to say that I think that like I said before, creating safe spaces as well as creating actionable solutions for the community is the equity work that I like to see around me, that I'd like to promote as a commissioner. And thank you all for your time.
Thank you, David. Marianne, you may unmute yourself. Marianne is our treasurer, and you may answer from your point of view the state of human rights in Humboldt County.
I come at human rights from a couple perspectives as a mom and a grandma, but I'm a local teacher. And I teach here in our community. I teach K through 12 independent study, and I am blessed with the ability to meet with our homeless population and other at-risk youth. I can say that the pandemic has been quite literally hard on those community members that are already disenfranchised, low income, homeless, unable to meet their daily needs because they can't work in their jobs, or they don't have transportation, or they live alone and are elderly, and are there are so above and beyond everything else that we work on as a committee. I think the pandemic has thrown a curveball into our community. But I do want to, as Steve mentioned, I like to focus a little bit on the positive things. So for example, Food for People. We just had the largest amount of donations in history, $45,000 and 9,000 pounds of food given this year. So I think that when people are at home, they know that they're not able to do what they would normally do, and they're going above and beyond. I'm on the board of the local Humane Society. We've had the largest amount of funds ever donated to us this year. And that helps with our homeless population because we can get out there and help them feed their animals. Homelessness for my students and for other students in the community. We have a program called the McKinney-Vento program, and we're able to provide hotspots to all of our students that are homeless right now so that they are still able to be connected. We've somehow or another managed to get enough Chromebooks and hotspots, which I think is a wonderful thing, so that everybody has an equal right to be able to be connected and be able to attend school no matter where they're living, whether it's in a car, home with no internet or whatever. So that's beautiful. An 8-year-old girl started a fundraiser and got over 100 blankets and squishy pillows donated to give out to our homeless youth, because we have over 100 homeless children locally in our community. Students are really, I think, from my point of view, I recognize other aspects of what's going on with human rights, but I think our youth, our children, our students, this is quite a paradigm for them to be engaged in, whether they're learning from home virtually and sitting in front of a Zoom like my grandchildren are from 8:30 to 1:30. Every day they're on a computer sitting here like we are, but every day. Or when they do have in class, they have to stand outside 6 feet separated. They can't touch each other or engage in any kind of physical activity, and stand there masked until they're called into the classroom, and then sit 6 feet apart from each other. When my grandson, who's 8 years old, was doing that, to me, that speaks of what is the best thing to do, and how are we going to mitigate this when it's done, when it's over with? How are we going to help our students catch up with lost learning choices and learning opportunities? So I'm seeing that as being something that we're going to really need to look at and address over the next year or so, is what's going to happen when everybody's able to be back out publicly. I do think that we're having a paradigm shift. I do think that we're going to find that there is more kindness and more caring, because we are in something that we're all in together. It's affecting all of us. It's affecting everybody. And so for me, as a mom, a grandma, and a teacher, I can say that I'm doing my best out there to provide for my students, and so are many other teachers and healthcare providers and parents who are working from home and have kids on Zoom. So I think that for me personally, and as a commissioner, that is kind of become my focus. I'm really trying hard to recognize that our community as a whole in Humboldt County is really coming together and doing a lot to provide services to help mitigate the human rights situations that are happening right now due to COVID.
Thank you very much, Marianne. Now, I think it's time for any of our audience, excuse me, to indicate if you would like to speak. I will recognize you and you may unmute yourself. Lelania,
we have some comments on Facebook that I would like to, Sean McLaughlin has brought up a new discussion. And I'm just going to read what he wrote. Thanks for being focused on human rights. Access Humboldt looks to Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Freedom of information and expression are essential for people to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. Related to free expression and information is the right to privacy. We are concerned about the rise of surveillance technology being deployed by private corporations and public agencies. We proposed a model ordinance from Santa Clara for the county to have transparent and accountable adoption of any new surveillance technology.
Thank you. Has that been is that something that they are proposing to the Board of Supervisors right now, or it's coming in the future?
He doesn't clarify that. It sounds like they've already proposed a model to the county.
Okay. Steve, do you know anything about that?
Not currently. I need to catch up with Sean.
Okay. And we do have contacts with Sean, so we can.
And this is something that Sean has been he's kind of been keeping us in the loop around. But you know, we have a full agenda, but I think we're going to be clearing some of those things in the next month or two. And hopefully this is something that he'll bring to us for consideration to support him on.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments on Facebook or chat that we should know about?
Yes, there's actually another one from Sean McLaughlin. ACLU's recent report documenting the failures of our education system to serve needs of Native communities. I hope this commission will take up the human rights issue involved in our education systems.
And you might like to just mention what happened at our last meeting, Lelania, when that was brought up.
Yes, good point. So we have received since quite the most emails I've seen on one subject matter around this issue. And we've been very fortunate. David Haney is now chairing the Racism and Cultural Awareness Committee. And I believe is at December 16th at 6 p.m. And after this event, I'll be creating another Facebook event and putting the information out there. David, as chair of that committee, will be hosting his first meeting around to discuss how this committee can help address this issue and a few other issues, such as bridging the gap between the sanctuary ordinance as well.
Thank you. And we might just mention what Sean has said about the media and press and information. We are very fortunate. We do have the North Coast Journal, the Times Standard, Redwood Times, various newspapers around, and Lost Coast Outpost online. So we do have good media. And it is very important that we have that so people can keep abreast of what's going on in the world and getting good factual information about it. So, Lelena?
Interested, since that is David's committee, if he has any responses to that comment.
Yes, thank you very much, Bert and Eleni. I appreciate it, and I appreciate Sean for the wonderful comments. It's very important to facilitate and get these comments into the meeting, and I'm very thankful for them. Concerning that report and the comment, I'm very glad personally that Lisa Sundberg has been appointed to this Human Rights Commission. I think she's a very important community stakeholder in this conversation, and I'm really proud to work with her as I'm proud to work with the rest of you. I really see her input being so valuable to this process, and her support being very important to garnering the community support that we will need to address the stark issues that were brought up in the ACLU report. And as I've said in the last two meetings, I think it's very telling. It's it's there to really just let us know, as we've seen with the all the impact that COVID has had on communities locally as well as nationally. It's brought a lot of different disparities that exist between different racial demographics and different communities to light. And I'm glad that the ACLU of Northern California created that, worked on that and created that report. It's really crucial that we take this report as the emergency call to really get this addressed in this community. And I'm thankful for the support from this commission in having that meeting on Wednesday, the 16th at 6, to get a process rolling to have this addressed. I think we've seen in other communities across the country, even in California, these issues get addressed properly. These issues get looked at, I want to say, and a process get put in place. And I think we can do the same in Humboldt County. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to do so for the community.
Okay, we might mention that the report was published in the North Coast Journal several weeks ago. So if you haven't seen it and you want to know more about it, you should be able to get that through the North Coast Journal. So Marianne, you may unmute and what you have a comment?
Yeah, I did want to mention, I didn't know if the commission was aware or if Sean was aware that this week they had a virtual roundtable called A Curriculum That Empowers. It was a virtual roundtable that's focusing on the need for better education outcomes for Native youth. At the roundtable were the ACLU, Humboldt State University Native American Studies Chair, Kutch Reisling-Baldy, and several other members of the community. And as a commissioner and as a member of the community, I think that it would behoove us to become involved with that virtual roundtable moving forward, because they are doing work with, there were over 100 people at the virtual roundtable, including a lot of local educators and other folks throughout the state, to look at specifically how we can create a curriculum that empowers in our community.
Can you be sure that David gets all that information for his committee?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's pretty groovy. And as a teacher, I'm trying to get myself involved with that as well. So I'll be glad to get that to you, David, so that one of us can attend the next virtual roundtable.
Did I see another hand? Someone who wanted to speak? Envoy? No. All right, Steve, you may unmute.
Thank you, Bird. You know, this issue of access for everybody, you know, the more remote parts of our county and communities have very limited access to broadband. You know, so as we're all sheltering at home, the students are trying to Zoom in. You might have 2 or 3 kids on Zoom. The parents are trying to work from home. Access is everything in terms of human rights and for all of us to stay connected. And it turns out there's a lot of broadband laid in our community to schools, but the line, for instance, I'll just give an example. The Maple Creek School, which is way out the Mad River, some 30 miles upriver from Corbell, has a broadband line that was laid by grants that we as taxpayers pay for that come through the PUC, and then carriers will lay that line using those grant monies. Having laid those lines with grant monies, they're not allowed to do any turnouts along that line for a period of years because they're not supposed to make any profit off the line. So here we have this line running all the way from Blue Lake through Corbell, all the way to Maple Creek, and nobody along the line can access it. That's just crazy. So we need to work with our legislative representatives to get access to these lines that have already been laid and allow for those turnouts to occur where they don't make any profit off of it. They just get to charge for the actual cost of creating the turnout. A turnout is basically a connection to the broadband, right? So we have all these lines laid all over the place. And if we could just get our legislative folks to step up and get the PUC, the Public Utilities Commission, to actually say, hey, we're going to make sure that all these lines that are out there start becoming available to people, that would certainly help. Because, you know, eventually this pandemic will be over, but still this remoteness is a really important human rights issue in Humboldt County, being such a large and remote county. And so that's one of the ways we can help connect people. So I just wanted to share that. And it's something I've been talking with Sean about as well. So just listeners, let your legislative representatives know we need connections here on existing lines.
Is that something that the Board of Supervisors is working on?
Yes, I'm hoping to bring an item to the board in the near future.
Good. All right. Is there something that the Human Rights Commission could do to help you with that?
Well, certainly a letter could be crafted supporting access to existing lines. You know, we're working on new broadband on Digital 299 and all kinds of other things, but I hadn't even realized that there were so many lines laid all over the county that we're just not getting access to. So there's several different issues here, and they're all important. And Sean has a lot of great information. You could certainly work with him to craft a letter. So yes, that would be a good thing.
Good. Thank you. Lilania? You may.
I have a couple comments, and thank you, Steve, for that information. First, there's a response from Sean. Good points about broadband access. FYI, in addition to PUC, California DOE also had a funding program, BIIG, to develop broadband to schools. County implementation of general plans communications element is a work in progress. County needs a dig once ordinance. And then we have another comment from Jen Rice. It says, thank you for the discussion, and it's kind of asking us to discuss something. Thank you for the discussion today. Unless mentioned occurred during a few video drops, I don't believe I heard anyone address the alarming issue that 1/3 of the cases of missing and murdered Indigenous women in the state occur in Del Norte, Humboldt County, and Mendocino counties. My hope is that this can be an issue of focus so the complex reasons for this, such as lack of interagency coordination, can be solved and therefore benefit Indigenous women who these systems fail most, as well as non-Indigenous women.
Would anyone like to comment on that? Lillian.
Gosh, I agree. I'm just going to say I agree.
No, wait. I didn't recognize you. Lelania.
Thank you, Bird. As previous chair of the Human Trafficking Committee, I really appreciate this question. We did develop, and thanks to the Board of Supervisors and Humboldt Area Foundation, a anti-human trafficking fund. And we have actually, for 2 years, some of the recipients of those funds are working on those exact issues. The first year, we supported missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls in creating a dance education system that helped people process that, as well as educate people on that. And this year, the Arcata Playhouse received funds, and they were initially creating a play around murdered and missing Indigenous women and children, but pivoted with COVID and created a storytelling series online around the same issues. You know, from a personal perspective, I've had personal experiences growing up in this community that showed me that there was a lot of things being hidden under the rug that we didn't understand. But when this issue was brought to us as a commission by Elle Snow, I had my own preconceived notions and was quite shocked, actually, that we are a bit of a hunting ground because we're so good at hiding things and we have so much ability to do that. There's a lot of other icky things that get to hide around that. So we do have a little under $5,000 left in that fund this year to disperse, and we wish to encourage organizations and community members who do have plans of action or are already doing something to apply.
Thank you, Lelania. Do we have any comments from our audience about this? This really is a listening session. We want to hear from you as much as possible. Does anyone have anything to add? Anything you'd like to bring up to us? Just raise your hand. Let me know if you would like to be unmuted and recognized.
Maybe we answered the if no one did the question from KMED. Maybe we could dive into that conversation now.
Good. How do we get that?
I will reread it.
Good.
Question from KMED News, Tanya Horlick. Many houseless residents in Southern Humboldt lack access to clean facilities, shelter, water, and food at times, if not every day. There is currently no inclement weather shelter in Southern Humboldt, and one of the only public buildings in the Garberville Library is being reconstructed. How can the Human Rights Commission take action to protect the basic human needs of Southern Humboldt's houseless people? Do you need the public to comment on the issue?
I would like to hear some public comments. Does anyone have a comment about that? Anyone? Supervisor Madrone, would you like to comment? You can say no if you want.
Well, that's certainly no, that's certainly a major issue in our community, not just in Southern Humboldt, but all over. But Southern Humboldt being remote and Eastern Humboldt being so remote tend to get less resources to help out with this. In Eureka and Arcata, there is quite a few resources, and even there's still an awful lot of people on the streets that aren't getting resources and stuff. So this is a huge issue, and a lot of it comes down to the resources and the money to be able to do something, but it takes these nonprofit partners like the Betty Chin's Foundation and Arcata House Partnership and AHA and so many other wonderful groups. In Southern Humboldt, there's a group that got a small grant to help provide food to folks and stuff. But this is an ongoing huge problem. And even once we find the financial resources, as we know, when you try to site a facility or create a safe camp or do certain things, there's a lot of pushback from the community. So I think that we all need to get a lot better educated on this issue and understand that not solving this problem is costing us about $60,000 a year per homeless person. Those are numbers according to Sheriff Hansel. According to Senator McGuire, statewide, we're spending up to $100,000 a year per homeless individual in not solving the problem. Those are the costs of jail time, confinement, crime, let alone the human cost of people living in the woods without sanitation, being treated by people in society as just, the untouchables or however, whatever. So this whole NIMBYism thing, I mean, it doesn't really matter what party you're in, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, or otherwise. How is spending $60,000 to $100,000 a year on not solving the problem make any sense to anybody, anywhere, right? So if you look at that and you say, okay, that doesn't make any sense, and we say to ourselves, we can do better. What does doing better look like? The problem is that if we were spending more of these funds to actually help people, we would have tremendous savings in our law enforcement, in our jails, in so many other things in our community. But you don't just get a credit, because now you've suddenly saved money in some other budget somewhere. You don't automatically start getting a credit for having saved something. So that's where I think us as elected officials have to really step up and be bold and say, this is not okay. We need to shift our priorities and how we're spending money. When we look at the police reports every month for various communities, so many of them are contacts with homeless individuals on the street. And is that really best done by somebody with a gun and a badge? Or do we need to expand the MISS program and other outreach programs and work with even more nonprofits to create places where people can be, treated like a human being with sanitation and services brought to them to help them with recovery or whatever else might be going on. So I firmly believe we can do better, but it really is going to take our whole community to say, enough with the NIMBYism, enough with the, whatever it is, we need to step up and spend this money far more wisely, number one, and actually start helping people. So I appreciate the comments from K-Mud. I think it's high time that we turn this corner. Now that winter's coming on and inclement weather, I mean, what are we doing here? Where's the empathy? I know we're all getting real tired of so many problems and different things, but we really need to double down on our kindness, our empathy, and start putting this money into services that really make a difference. So at least that's where I'm coming from.
Thank you very much. Lelania, you may unmute.
Thank you, Bird. I just want to support what Supervisor Madrone is saying. All the research that I've done, and when I came on the commission, this was on our agenda. And in the new research I've done, that's the bottom line, is if you don't have all the community stakeholders involved in solving homelessness, then you're going to have an unhealthy community. It impacts everybody. And unless everybody comes to the table, we don't find healthy solutions. Sean gave us a great tip. He said if we're having problems having people call in, to keep saying the number. So I want to remind everybody that they are free to call in and participate in this conversation at 1-669-900-6833. Please call and join us. We really want to listen to you, not do all the talking, at 1-669-900-6833.
Thank you, Lulania. Well, I do have a couple of people whose faces I can see and someone whose face I cannot see on my screen. Do either one of you people whom I can see, one is Envoy and one is Katayani. Do either of you put your hand up if you would like to say something? We want to hear from you. Yes, unmute yourself, please.
Hi. First of all, I just want to give my thanks to you all. You're doing such amazing work. I feel like I'm tuned into a Zoom session with a bunch of incarnated angels at the moment. And I share all your concerns. I just can't even begin to, just the great work that you're doing. So, I came on originally because I wanted to share about a new social justice movement that I'm working on launching. And it's a little bit of a divisive issue, or it can be if you look at it in a certain way, but I just humbly ask for tolerance or more than tolerance, kind consideration, or to even join me in helping me launch this. Because with the state of human rights in regards to our right to exist as a natural person, the way we were naturally born, without synthetically altering ourselves, seems to be a foreseen danger that could be being imposed coming up in the near future with political talk and things being promoted in the media and things. And so I'm standing up to something that's called mesonaturalism, which, if you don't mind, I'll read the definition of what mesonaturalism is.
Please do.
It's the bigoted belief that natural people and natural lifestyle choices are inferior to synthetic lifestyles and those who choose them. Mesonaturalism is a form of discrimination or prejudice. It's the hatred or dislike of, aversion to, distrust of, contempt for, or prejudice against anyone who makes a natural lifestyle choice, including but not limited to natural medicine, natural immunity, natural birth, natural learning, natural foods, natural hair, natural living, natural clothing, natural body care, natural cleaning products, or anything like that. It manifests in various forms, such as physical intimidation and abuse, harassment, ramifications imposed for non-compliance with the acceptance of synthetics, social shunning, and ostracism. Legislation that denies equal access to parts of society and smear campaigns using mesonaturalist slurs such as anti-vaxxers are an embodiment of mesonaturalism in this time. So I'm just standing up to say that natural people or anyone who makes a natural lifestyle choice poses no danger to anyone else. And so that's my point of focus at the moment. And again, I just thank you all so much. If anyone wants any information about that further, and I'm also collecting testimonials from people who have had their rights, because we have children being segregated in schools now, natural people who want to, I've been a natural person my entire adult life. I have a family history related to that. And so a long story. So this is something that's been close to me. And I'm also vaccine injured. So I have that as well. And so you can find out more information and submit your testimonials at thestrongfoundation.com/naturalpeoplesrights. And thank you so much for hearing me and providing this. I very much appreciate it from my heart.
Thank you for bringing forward something that may be new to some of us and new to many people in the community. So thank you. This is what we hope to hear from, hear about things that we don't know about yet. and bring that forward to us. So anyone, please, we would like to hear that. Marianne, you may unmute. Did you have a question for her?
I just wanted to have a quick discussion with Katyani. I understand where you're coming from as a teacher and having to be the kind of the police force of who's getting vaccinated or not getting vaccinated has upset a lot of teachers that we're having to do that. I do hear where you're coming from about being able to have conscious choice and decision. As a home birth naturalist mom myself, I can tell you that that it is hard in society to do something that is considered quote unquote out of the norm. And I do think that very often it does speak to human rights violations. So I thank you very much for bringing that forward to us and see what we can do to address that in the future on our commission. So thank you very much. I think that it is a timely issue, especially when you're talking about vaccination, students not being allowed to attend classes when there are classes in session. It's been, that's one of the reasons I'm an independent study teacher, so I can still teach the students that are disenfranchised from the classroom. But I hear where you're coming from, and I think that it is a timely issue. So thanks for bringing it to our commission.
Thank you, Marianne. And thank you again, Katyani, for your courage in coming and talking about something that is different from what many people have heard or thought about. So we really appreciate it. Thank you. I would like to ask Envoy 707, do you have anything you would like to say? You may unmute. Thank you.
Hi. I would like to thank you guys all for the work that you do. It's definitely much needed. And I do have a question. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I noticed that we don't have a local UN chapter. Is there a reason for that, or do we know what it would take to have one?
A local which chapter?
United Nations chapter. Just
United Nations. I thought that's what you said. I don't know an answer to that. Lelania, you may unmute. Did you have an answer?
No, but as a human rights commission, we function under the human rights laws of the United Nations. I didn't know that there was UN chapters in individual communities, especially in small. I'm sure there is in San Francisco, but I've never heard of that. But that doesn't mean that there isn't. But we do not have one here.
Yeah, and I don't know. I didn't know that there were individual ones. Do you know how one would be set up?
Well, I'm just now aware that there are local chapters, and trying to contact our representatives for stronger support in the UN. And you know, we had a list of instructions and a script that we were supposed to read, and part of it was contacting the local chapter, and we don't have one in Northern California at all, and I'd like to see that change.
All right.
I'm not sure what we need to do. I think you have to have some kind of authority through the Human Rights Commission. So if we could work on that, I'd like to see that happen.
Lelania, could we invite, if you could give us contact information for you, maybe you could be invited to one of our meetings and present to the full commission what you would like and what would be needed from the commission to do something like this.
Thank you. I'd be very grateful.
Thank you. Lelania, you'll follow through on that.
That is exactly what I was going to suggest. And if you could either privately on Facebook send it to me, or let me give you our email right now, and we can schedule you on the agenda. Our email address is hhr@co.humboldt.ca.us. Thank you.
And my email is envoy707@outlook.com.
Okay.
So you have one.
And are you willing to give us your name, or do we just call you Envoy?
My name is Anna.
Anna. Thank you very much for coming, Anna, for bringing up something that we haven't heard about before. So thank you. Marianne, you may unmute if you wanted to say something.
While we were sitting here, I went ahead and looked it up, and it looks like any citizen can go to unausa.org and start a chapter. So Anna, if you start a chapter, I'll join it. So, yeah, because it looks like that's all it takes. It's a very simple form you fill out. You're right that the closest chapter is San Francisco, and now that I'd rather have you. I would do it, but you do it, and I'll join with you. How's that sound?
Good, and then once, and you can come and talk to the Human Rights Commission about it. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
So thank you very much again. That's wonderful.
unausa.org.
Do we have any other comments? I have someone on here who, it says Junie A. Junie A, do you have anything you would like to comment about? Anything that you'd like to say about the state of human rights in Humboldt County? You may unmute yourself if you would like to say something. I guess I take that you don't wish to speak. So thank you. Thank you for being here and listening. Lelania, unmute yourself.
David actually had something a few minutes ago, so maybe that's what he wishes to speak to. And then I have something that I just want to follow up on a discussion that we had earlier around sanctuary, because I spoke to Sheriff Thompson.
Okay, David, I'm sorry if I missed you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bert. Thank you, Lelania. Thank you, Bert. I appreciate it. I want to thank the guests that came to this Zoom meeting today for this input. This has been very good to hear from the community. My comment was actually, I wanted to thank Katyayani for representing the movement that she is. I think it's a very, like Marianne said, a very timely movement. What's very interesting about it is that kind of like how Bird was saying, this is kind of an issue that people like don't know about. What's really interesting about that is natural rights and the natural way of living is actually like how things used to be for so long. And the world has changed so much, where so much synthetic living has infiltrated our lives to where it's now the norm. And these natural rights have not gotten addressed. And I think now with what was brought up with vaccines, that's an interesting part of the conversation. I have people in my family that have been vaccine injured. And so with this potential vaccine that's coming down the pipe, this conversation is a big one, and it's very timely. And I want to thank Katyayani for representing what she is and bringing your voice to this commission. Thank you again.
Thank you. If you're not speaking, would you please mute yourself? Anna, I think you're not muted. Yeah. Thank you. Lelania.
First I want to add, Sean had some more public comment for us, and it was very interesting. He said, perhaps this commission could be funded by confiscated resources collected by the sheriff's office. So I just
better than a bake sale.
It is better than a bake sale.
Which has been suggested that we ought to have our own fundraising, which is not what we should be doing.
No, we need to work.
We have plenty to do without trying to raise money. So,
and then there is another comment. The argument is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, taking ill-gotten gains and applying them to human rights needs of our county. That was the finishing comment.
Good. All right, David, you may unmute.
Thank you. This is just a really quick comment in reference to Sean's comments. Thank you, Sean, for your comments and your support on Facebook and prior with the commission. It's always appreciated. Concerning this confiscated resources, I just want to remind folks that this is a very interesting conversation that's been going on for so long. It's called civil asset forfeiture. Right. This is what when the police and law enforcement go in and confiscate, assets or, property during investigations and what to do with that. And it's really turned into this really politicized thing where, you know, when President Obama was leaving office, the kind of general outlook in the overall community, the overall governmental community, was civil asset forfeitures bad. We need to not take money from people that may need that money to represent themselves in court. And so that is especially an important conversation related to cannabis and cannabis rights, I want to say. And then separately, I think that when Donald Trump came into office, he changed the governmental kind of MO to being civil asset forfeitures. Great, let's just take money from people when we arrest them without regard for their innocence, you know. And so, yeah, like I said, I think this is an important part of a larger conversation for this community that can actually go along with cannabis rights and the cannabis initiatives in the community. Thank you, Sean, and thank you.
Supervisor Madrone, do you have any reaction to that?
Well, yeah, I think that there's a lot of opportunity to consider how we use our assets for forfeitures, as well as code enforcement fines that happen in the community. I think we need to have a larger community discussion about that at the board. And I think that would be very appropriate during our budget sessions to be delving into that and thinking about how we utilize these funds. I mean, when I found out that the Human Rights Commission isn't really supported by our board in terms of staffing or anything, and you guys have to do, you know, I mean, it's one thing, you're all volunteering your time, but I think it just amazes me that we're not providing more support on an ongoing basis for this incredibly important commission. So that is certainly one of the ways we could consider doing that, is thinking about those fines and assets that we seize and bring in. There is a lot of turf around all of that, as you can imagine. So anytime you start shifting turf, it always gets to be an issue, right? But I mean, for you guys, you know, it doesn't take much for us to help, and you know, given a $450 million budget annually, you would think we could come up with something to really support this commission, so, and all its valuable work. So we need to keep at that.
Thank you. And I would like to interject right now that the McLean Foundation in Fortuna has been very, very generous with us. They have given us grants over the last, I think it's maybe 6 or 7 years. And that's what made it possible for us to go out to Garberville, to invite people, to give them some food, to entice them to come where we could listen to them. And to do things like this, we have to have a Zoom account and pay for it, for this kind of thing. They have been incredibly helpful to us. And they really, really are trying to help the community. We have asked during budget sessions over and over and over again for very minimal amount. And we're told that we're just one of many, many commissions that don't have any support. So that's another conversation, I guess. So did I see a hand? Somebody had a hand up, Lelania?
I just want to respond to what you said, Bird. I think in the past 4 years, we've taken a lot of documentable action too. And so maybe, you know, the time is soon that we put that together really well and show the value that we've brought to the table and some of the money we're saving through addressing some of these issues for the board.
Just one more little chore. That sounds like the chair's chore.
Yeah, the chair. Yeah, one more thing. But
yeah, just one more thing. So, but let's get back to our listening. Do we have any more comments on Facebook, on KMUD, in the chat, or anybody else? If you've already spoken, you may speak again if you would like to. We just are here to listen. Okay, Marianne, I will let you. I'm trying to get it from the community, but yes, you may say something.
It's a comment on our Facebook page, as I'm following them as well, in the regular comment section and not messages. And Lelania, have you already seen it? If we could please bring up our surveys that are out in the community right now while we're on air, because folks down in Southern Humboldt and all across the county might be interested in what we have out there that are surveys.
Good. Thank you very much. Okay, Lelania, do you have something there?
Yep, we have responded to all the comments. That's part of my role right now today, is helping Bird and moderating those comments. So thank you, Marianne. And we just haven't, we're really trying to listen to the community. And yes, we are involved in a cannabis survey. And yes, we're here to talk about it, but please call us at, let me get the number back up, 1-669-900-6833. And that's what we're here to talk about, what you need to talk about. So please give us a call or ask us any questions in the Facebook Live feed.
Okay, thank you.
Bird, when we're in a lull, I would like to circle back and address the sanctuary information that I found out in my conversation during our break, but I'll let you do that. And then we could discuss the cannabis survey at any time if we have a lull as well. That's, we've got to roll with it.
Well, why don't you go ahead and get back to the comments before that you found out about.
Okay. So we had some questions in our earlier town hall meeting around sanctuary and how to access that. And, I have read the ordinance and tried to figure it out. And it is a little bit confusing, but I spoke to the sheriff during our break, and he really helped me understand it better. And so what you would do is you would report an incident or a problem with that department or agency that there was the problem. But if that doesn't work for you, and if that doesn't feel right, you are also able to report it to us through our email, through our phone line. So the two avenues are the traditional reporting process for those agencies, as well as now you also have the option of reporting it to us through our email or message line.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So any further questions about that, about the sanctuary, since we're on that right now? Anybody? Okay, well, let's go ahead, Lelania, go ahead.
I just want to say that the commission is also accessing interpreters, and David, as new chair of our Racism and Cultural Awareness Committee, that's part of what he is helping bridging that gap. When they meet at that meeting on December 16th at 6 p.m., that is their goal at that meeting, is to form a plan. And so anyone who wishes to participate in that conversation is welcome to join.
Thank you. David, would you like to add anything to that?
Yes, thank you, Lelania, and thank you, Bird. I just think that it's very important that we get, as has been said before, we get the right community stakeholders involved with this process. But I think that it's a very viable process for us to be able to create some actionable change for this community, because I think that's what people need. As I want to point out really quickly, just via the Facebook comments during this event, right? We've had two comments that specifically talk about anti-Indigenous racism, right? Between the comment from Jen Rice and then the comment from Sean reminding us about the ACLU report, right? This is an important topic to address, and I think that we need to make sure that this process is supported by the commission and by the community. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else want to comment on that? Anybody? Lelania.
I just want to let everybody know that our accessibility information is the same for all of our public meetings. So the phone number that you're getting today will work, and the link that you're getting today will work to access the ad hoc committee meeting on December 16th at 6 p.m. as well. But that information, ad hoc committee meetings will not be posted on the county site like our standing committee and our regular meetings, but we are going to create a Facebook event around this and post the agenda in there. And again, that and we put it on our Facebook page, and that contact information to join in these meetings, we're working really hard to keep it the same.
Thank you. Okay. Again, that's the accessibility, and somebody brought up translation into Spanish. That's one of the things that was paid for by the grant that we got from McLean, because they saw that as an accessibility and getting information out. But we are also, we use that to translate the Board of Supervisors resolution, I think it was called, several years ago, that came before the sanctuary ordinance. And we translated that into Spanish and put that available for anyone in that community to find it and be able to read it. So we are trying to see that things are more accessible to everyone, no matter who they are, where they live, what they speak, and so forth. So accessibility is a huge umbrella for all kinds of things that have been brought up. And that committee, that ad hoc committee, has maybe some more things to think about to do. So thank you to everybody who's bringing these up. David, you may unmute. What would you like to say?
I'm not totally sure if this is the right committee to bring this up with, but one of the things that I noticed when I traveled to the actual Humboldt County government's website, to our page, the Humboldt Human Rights Commission's page, at the top, at the top right, it has staff directory, and then it has information for the clerk of the board, rather than like, let's say, our message line number or the human trafficking number. When I travel to other, let's say, groups or committees, they have more of a information to actually kind of contact that committee, rather than ours has the clerk of the board information. So I'm not sure who we might be able, if we be able to even contact someone about it. But
well, Lelania, you had an answer. You may unmute.
I kind of have an answer. So that website is at full control of the county. We can have requests made, but not all our requests are approved. And the clerk of the board, because we are appointees of the Board of Supervisors, they are who we communicate and integrate with the most. And if you scroll down a little further, our email address and our message line is in there. And if you scroll down a little bit further, our cannabis inquiry and our human trafficking resource links are in there as well. They have a lot of work to do, and it's a process, but I think we want the Board of Clerks information up there as well, because they also help us a lot and provide a bit of a buffer and help bridge communication for us.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have comments that they would like to bring up? Anything else from KMUD or from Facebook? Lelania.
We have a note from Sean McLaughlin, which is great information for us. He said, FYI, access Humboldt's archive collection, Board of Supervisors meetings, etc., have English, Spanish among closed captioning, which is something I was trying to make happen for this event, but those are all additional costs. And so that is great news. So this will also be in closed captioning, I'm sure, when it gets put on like that.
Wonderful. Very good. That's awesome. Any other comments? Anything else anyone would like to bring up? Don't be shy. We would like to hear from you.
Can I give out the number again, Bird?
Yes, indeed. Please.
Okay. you can call us right now at 1-669-900-6833. We'll be on for a little over 30 minutes, so please join us. We're really excited to hear what you have to say. You can join myself, Lelania Dubois, Bird Lochte, David Haney, Marianne Lloyd, and our guest, Supervisor Madrone.
Thank you.
Last name's Lyons, but could you redo the question that's being asked? Because maybe it could go out over the air. What we're asking people to talk to us about.
Yes, that's a good idea. Thank you, Marianne. We are asking you to tell us what you perceive as the state of human rights in Humboldt County now. And we're listening so that we can hear what's going on from your point of view, which may be different from your neighbors. Everybody has a different idea, and we'd like to hear all those different ideas so we can see where we really need to put our time and energy. So, Anna, was that you wanted to speak? Anna?
I have a question about access and people who would have concerns about human rights violations within the community, and maybe them being able to access justice through the local channels. And probably from what I understand, if you asked any of them what you could do to help, they all want the same thing. They would like to see justice, but maybe some of them don't know how to reach out or fear retaliation for doing so. If they do you have anything that we could advise people of in that department?
Well, definitely, we do have our phone message system where you can call and your name will never be given out in public, but you can leave your concern. The message line works this way. Every commissioner takes a turn of a couple of weeks of answering once a day and calling back when people leave a number and to find out what the issue is, or just listening to the message and being sure that the rest of the commission gets that message. It's not something that will be publicized other than the actual issue. So
okay, good to know.
So that's a safe way, and also the email can be done. Did you want to,
Okay.
Lelaine, you want to add to that? You can unmute.
Thank you. We're also, Commissioner Rowe, who is not with us today, and myself have been, we have this cannabis survey out, and we're working on creating a human rights survey that can sit on that website that the community could access. It's taken us, we were tasked to do it 2 months ago, but a lot's happened. We're really hoping to have it on the website by next month, but we have to go through the approval process first. But we're hoping that'll help people report more. So they don't have to send an email, they don't have to make a phone call, they just got to fill out a form.
Very good.
Okay. Well, thank you for bringing that up and giving us a chance to emphasize that again, because accessibility is very important, and people do need to know how they can reach us and that it will be safe for them to do so. That we do not want anybody retaliated against because they said something to us about a concern that they had. Anyone else? Steve, you may unmute.
Yes, I just wanted to say that you can also contact your Board of Supervisor. We get calls and emails every day on all kinds of issues, and frankly, justice issues, fairness issues, making sure that people are being treated with justice is very important, I know, to all of the board. And so sometimes, you might feel like it's hard to call the sheriff or the DA, make contact with those offices around these things, and we can help facilitate that as board members and make sure that your concerns are elevated to a level of being able to get some response and some action. So I just wanted to offer that. I know I get a lot of calls, and so do the rest of the board. And we try our best to jump in and help deal with these issues, whatever they might be. So please use that as an opportunity as well.
Thank you very much, Steve. Yes. Marianne, you may unmute.
You know, one thing that I think we all forgot to mention is that we do have a prisoner advocate. We have advocates that will, because I know that this is on the radio right now and could be being listened to in our local jail system, we are able to address human rights issues within our jail system as well. There is a number available at the prison and not the county jail. There is a number available, so they are able to reach out and leave us a message, and we will contact and get in touch with them and hear their grievances so that they can reach out to Human Rights Commission if they're incarcerated. So I just want to make sure, because I just thought of it, that we did include that while we're out live streaming, so that it is known that even if you're incarcerated, you can reach out to the Human Rights Commission confidentially, and we will come and meet with you or try to address any issues that you're having in regards to your incarceration.
Thank you very much, Marianne. That's a good thing to add to what we do. They just stack up, don't they? All these projects that we have going on with 11 people trying to do all of it. So Lelania, you may unmute.
I wanted to bring up something that came up yesterday, and Steve just kind of touched on it. You know, one of the reasons that I do all this and love it so much is because growing up here, I always watched how the little person could create change. And one of the things that has gotten me to be able to participate in this conversation like this and learn how to be a leader like this is because I did go to the Board of Supervisors in 2009 and started speaking up. I used my voice as a very disabled person. In fact, when I first started speaking up, I was only leaving my house 2 hours a day because I could barely walk and had a 4-year-old child. And that started, and now I get to call Supervisor Madrone and help create change and work with all of you. And Humboldt County is a place where a lot of our leaders grew up here, and we care. We might care about different things, and we might come from different experiences and have different views and opinions, but we all really kind of care. And we all, if we choose, I am not college educated in this role. I was college educated in nursing. You know, I don't even have my full degree because I have a spinal cord injury and I'm a single mom and disabled. But my voice has mattered because I've used it. So I'm saying this to encourage anyone listening, anyone participating, to use the political process here, because it does work, because we have a level of accountability in this small community that doesn't exist in bigger communities.
Thank you, Lelania. Anna, you had your hand up and you may unmute.
I just wanted to say I can relate to that. I also have a very severe spinal cord injury, and that's where a lot of my issues come from. And I understand this connection, you know, that you feel as a physically disabled, especially single mother in the community, and that makes in my experience, that's made me a target and makes me very vulnerable, you know, just leaving the house and things like that. So I want to say that I appreciate that that position very much, and understand the very real challenges, because a lot of it is awareness. People don't understand what it takes, you know, just to get up and get dressed with a spinal cord injury. Let alone taking care of a family. So I just wanted to say you're not alone there, and I appreciate just being able to listen that somebody else out there is experiencing the same thing. So thank you all for that.
Thank you. Supervisor Madrone, you had your hand up. You may unmute.
Oh, thank you, Bird. Leilania, I think you're still using your nursing skills here, frankly, and I would say you have excellent bedside manner. So thank you for using those skills in the interest of helping our whole community heal. And I think that's an interesting thing about things we learn in life. How do we take those? We may not think we're using them, but we are. And I know you are, you know that. I like to think about Margaret Mead, and this is often a stated comment by her that never doubt for a moment that few people can change the world, because for certain it is the only thing that ever has. And I think many of us have seen that in our lives, that it doesn't take but a few people that are dedicated, like this group here of commissioners, to a cause, to helping our community, to really, really make a difference. So to those out there listening, take a cue from Leilania that, yeah, show up to our board meetings on Zoom, come and comment, organize, be involved, and change does happen. So thank you for that, Leilania.
Thank you. And again, I want to reinforce that the silver lining of COVID has been Zoom. The fact that you can attend a meeting, even if your back is so bad you don't want to go out the door, or if you live 60 miles away. We have that accessibility. And I truly hope that we're going to get the state to change the Brown Act so that we can continue to use it in the best way to reach anybody in our community. So, David, I saw your hand up, and then you're next, Lelania. David, you may unmute.
Thank you, Bird, and thank you all. I just wanted to add to the current conversation that to remind folks that we, the Human Rights Commission, actually have 3 seats coming up in the next 3 months, one in January, one in February, and one in March. And so now is the time to talk to your your county supervisor and get the application and apply, and and try to come on and help us make change. Like Bird's been saying, we've only got a limited number of commissioners and a lot of work to be done. So let's get your support.
Thank you. Lelania, you may unmute.
So I want to say that those seats are open now and you can apply now. There's no date on that. And I wanted to add some more. We've got some more great comments from Sean. But first, I want to reply to Anna and say thank you. And I feel you, sister. And all those challenges, I understand where you're at, but the stronger you get and the more you believe in yourself, the louder your voice will get. And you will probably create some incredible change because of all of that. So I wanted to give you that. Thank you for what you said. And then I'd like to, Sean has made a couple strong, good comments. One is the status of the county's ADA consent decree should be of interest to the commission. And as a disabled person, I've actually been kind of like thinking about that. So he's suggesting that we take a look at that. And then virtual connection, he's agreeing with you, Bird, has an upside. Good point about the Brown Act and governor's executive order that makes these meetings possible.
Thank you. Anything else? Any other comments that anybody wants to bring forward? Libby, did you have something you wanted to add? You may unmute if you'd like.
Thank you. I think mostly I just want to thank and acknowledge all of you for doing this incredible work. And I think you're probably one of the best kept secrets of the county. And anything that we can do to help, get your voice out and to, make you more effective in the community, just call on us, call on me. We're here to join you in making the community the best place it can be, to make it safe and happy and healthy for everybody.
Well, thank you, Libby. And I think we will be calling on you. I can see the possibility of perhaps some kind of PR campaign that involves beautiful posters or a banner or something that visual arts could do for us, or a performance that's in honor of something. I mean, I can see that you could really give us a lot of help. So thank you very much, and thank you for being here and speaking up. Did I see another hand? Lelania? Not again. You may unmute.
I'm so used to talking all the time. I just wanted to say, yeah, I see so many opportunities in collaboration in education, Libby. Thank you. I also wanted to circle back to something that Mary brought up and we haven't really touched on, but she was saying was being brought through comments. Sean McLaughlin just suggested Ink People and Mars Project could make art for human rights. And Aaron suggested we mention our welcome sign. Would you like to discuss that, Bird?
Sure, I'll say something about that. We wanted to have something that was a little different from no shoes, no service or whatever. We wanted it to be positive. So we have what we call a welcome sign, but it does say that it's the behavior that is important. And it makes people aware that they must behave in a good way. It's not who they are or what they're wearing, but it's the way they're behaving around other people. So, and to make it every place a safe place. I might try to see if I can bring it up. Would you let me share screen?
You should be able to share, Bird.
Let me see if I can bring this up.
And
no, I'm not. I don't have it right. No, I don't have it right where I thought I had it. So I don't think I can bring it up. Yes? Unmute.
I think it was David that made a really good suggestion, and it's a new suggestion, so it's kind of at the end of my list right now, but is to get that sign on our website.
Yes. Well, yeah. I sent it to you. There we go. Thank you. Mary Ann's got it.
The list is long. There we go. Let me get, yeah, there we go. Mary Ann, can you talk so everyone could see it?
Unmute.
There we go. Here it is.
There you are.
It says, welcome, safe, respectful behavior is required here. And on the bottom, it says Humboldt County Human Rights Commission, and it gives our website and also our phone number. So I encourage any of your Ink People spots could have this sign. I'll bring some by to you, Libby. Anybody else who wants one, you can have this not just at a business. I have it on my front door. You know, it's like you're welcome as long as you're safe, respectful, responsible.
And this is a laminated sign. Yep. Again, we thank the McLean Foundation because it was their money that paid for us to do this. We also had a concern brought up by members of the Indigenous community that red was maybe more of a danger sign. And so we also have them available exactly the same, but what's red there is in green. So you can have a choice. They are free to any person or business, any place where you would like to have one. Lelania, you may unmute.
Thank you. There's just a great comment again from Sean McLaughlin of Access Humboldt saying that the pandemic makes the nuance of the word safe more urgent. I want to also add that we have a digital file of this, and we could very easily just email you that, and you could print a copy of your own out and very quickly put it into action.
Yes, And you could laminate your own if you wanted so that it is very durable, but you could just print it out on a piece of paper. Yeah. The laminated ones are wonderful because they really are very durable.
I'll bring one by to you, Libby.
You want one, Libby? Good. Anybody else want one? Lelania.
We have some people trying to call in, and I just want to make a comment to help inform them. So the call-in number is 1-669-900-6833. The code is community. I guess some people are having a hard time because the idea is asking, and the password is community.
Okay. So, and will they show up on my screen when they call in, or will you speak with them?
I'll let them in and then they'll show up.
Okay, good. So we'll watch for them to show up. Good. Anybody else have? Lelania, go ahead.
Just when we have a chance, I'd like to talk about the cannabis survey, since Mary brought it up too, when we're ready.
Okay. Well, we could do that right now while we're waiting for people to come in. All right, go ahead.
We've had a lot of concern around the cannabis survey and privacy and what our intentions are and what we're going to do with the information. And Bird, you mentioned our message line and how we don't give out names and we don't give out descriptive information, but we do give out the issue and what you're asking us to address. Well, this survey has been crafted in a way, and the questions have been crafted in a way that you have a choice when you take this survey. You can choose to give us your information or not. We've also set the document so it doesn't track your IP. If we're not making you give us information, there are no red stars. So we're not grabbing your email, we're not grabbing your IP through that. So I please join us. And then our purpose in this survey is, and we talked about this in our earlier session, is truly because as a government body and a human rights organization, we have never had the opportunity to inquire how cannabis is impacting our community when we're considered the heart of this plant's history. And our government has shown us that it is the largest economic engine in our community. And historically, through history, when you have a new industry coming in that has a lot of impact and you're building policies around it, the first thing that gets lost in the gap is the human rights. And that's what the UN Human Rights Commission does, is bridge the gaps between those marginalized communities and policymakers. And so we now, because of legalization, for the first time have the opportunity to see, how is cannabis impacting homelessness? How is cannabis impacting our children's education? How is cannabis impacting our property rights? There's so many, when you're talking about such a strong economy, we need to understand, in order to really dive in and find solutions, how is this economy impacting our rights?
Good, thank you. Mary Ann, you had your hand up. Did you want to add anything to that about the survey? Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to add something about it? Lelania?
You can find the survey on the county website on the human rights page. If you scroll down at the bottom, you'll see a direct link to the survey, as well as a direct link to our anti-human trafficking resource page.
Good, thank you. Do we have any other? I'm not seeing any phones coming up. David, would you like to unmute?
Yes, I'm not sure. I know it's awful late in the meeting, but I'm not sure that people are able to actually phone in. We haven't had any phone callers, and I'm getting a message from someone saying that they're trying to dial in, but it told them this meeting does not allow phone dial in.
Oh, no.
And so I'm not sure how accessible that is through that method. I'm just trying to relay the messages that I'm getting.
How is the message coming to you? Through,
I'm getting a message via Facebook because I'm a personal message via Facebook because I'm keeping an eye on the Facebook event feed.
can you reply and give our apologies that it didn't work? Lelania, do you have something to tell him?
Are you speaking to Julia Minton's comment?
Yes,
Okay,
she's the person that tried to alert me.
I'm moderating this, and in the password is community. She said she needed a password ID, and it's community.
And she says she put in community, but it says incorrect.
Capital C.
Let's try it. Well, you know, I apologize if people aren't able to call in. In fact, that like makes my heart sink because we work so hard to make this accessible as we can. If you had something to say and you weren't able to, please use the Facebook comments. We're moderating that. I know we only have a few minutes left. Please email us. And we do have our next meeting the first Thursday of January at 5 p.m. And we will we'll do our best to make sure that we fix these problems if there's something that we can fix.
Thank you, Lelania. And thank you to anyone. Please, David, would you please let her know that we apologize, that we thought we did everything to include everyone. We're very sorry that she was not able to get in, but she can call our message line. She can send us an email. She can say something on the Facebook page. And we hope that she will, because we really do want to hear what people in the community have to say about human rights in Humboldt County. So thank you, David, for taking care of that. Anyone else? Did I see a hand? Katyani, did you have your hand up? Okay, sorry. Anybody else? Well, we have about 10 minutes left. I guess I will ask if any, all right. Supervisor Madrone, you may unmute.
Thank you, Commissioner Locke. I wanted to go back to the sanctuary piece just very briefly.
Okay.
As I mentioned earlier in my comments today, there are some public officials who still do not support Measure K. And, you know, with everything in life, there are pros and cons, right? And then there's no perfect solutions that come to us. They always have ups and downs. And I understand, you know, on the part of those folks, their concern was that it was going to take away one of the tools in the toolbox from the sheriff's department. And I think, you know, when we look at the reports over the last 2 years since the ordinance has passed, there haven't been those problems. There certainly could be an issue, a rare issue that occurs because of the ordinance. But, you know, what I like to do is focus on the positive. So that's the negative. Maybe it took a tool away. And I hear that repeated by people that don't support Measure K to this day. But if you look at the positives, is if you look at the safety and security that that measure provides to important members of our community, you know, people that work here, live here, raise their families here, that ordinance provides a tremendous level of a sense of safety and security. And the value of that for those families and for those individuals is so much greater than the potential negative of an occasional problem that might occur. So I just wanted to bring that forward because I fully support Measure K and this ordinance. And I think it's a wonderful thing we did in this community. I know a lot of people have concerns, but you know, if we look at the positive, I think it's a real important measure that we have in our community. So I just wanted to share that because I think that's important.
Thank you very much. I think that is an important thing to share, and I hope it will be shared more and more. It is going out on KMUD and Facebook. We have a couple of hands. Anna, would you like to unmute? You're next, Lelania.
I just wanted to thank Steve for that point and thank him for that position of being solution oriented, and that there really is no problem without a solution. And I understand people being uncomfortable, with certain things. But as long as we follow Steve's lead there and focusing on the positive and that there is a solution for every problem, we can get through it. So that's all.
Thank you very much. Lelania, and then David.
I just wanted to say we had Lisa Sundberg on yesterday, and she's a big part of the health conversation, and it kept coming back to, and I really believe that, and Steve, you brought it up with my nursing background, is that it's about community health, and when we're taking care of our community holistically, we all have a safer, happier, healthy community. And so when we're talking about sanctuary, especially us, because of our clandestine old industry, is there's some responsibility there to make sure that we are honoring and caring for all those community members, because they do participate. And do we want disenfranchised community members, or do we want supported community members?
Thank you. David, you may unmute. It's your turn now.
Thank you. I just wanted to give appreciation to this county for passing Measure K. I think that it's a very important thing for, like Lelania just said, the health of the community, because when we have people that don't feel safe in the community, that that's only going to add to problems in our community, right? And I want to thank personally the work that Central del Pueblo has done related to the sanctuary ordinance. They've been very crucial and a very important voice in that process, and that's very important work that they do. So I want to give thanks to them.
Thank you, David. That's a good point to make. I thank you for doing that. Anyone else have anything you'd like to add? Commissioners? Lelania.
I would really appreciate it if we could all just have some quick last closing comments around today for our community as leaders, and to close this out, I'd love if we could all hear from us.
Go right ahead. Unmute and go right ahead, Lelania.
All right. I want to say, first of all, thank you for everyone for participating. Thank you, Supervisor Madrone, for taking Saturday in 2 hours. Actually, you were here for the whole thing and participating. It really helps us as a commission to have that participation, because it brings more voices to the table in your leadership. So I want to thank you for that. And then I want to thank you, Bird, for moderating this. It was nice. Yesterday was a little nerve-wracking for me, and your support, and not only your support today, but I would not be chair of this commission if it wasn't for you and our prior chair, Jim Glover, because your leadership and the ability for the two of you to support me as a leader and teach me how to be a good leader has been enormous. And Mary, thank you for coming and your work. And I think there's a lot of fuel behind the kindness campaign, and I'm excited to see what comes out next. And David, thank you for joining us. And I think your experience and motivation is going to help take this commission to places that we couldn't go without you. So thank you. And thank you to all of you that are on the screen. Libby, I'm really excited to have more conversations. Anna, I mean, this UN concept is incredible. I mean, we are an international community, whether, we think we are, but we are. And then Katiana, my mother was a midwife, and I honor what you are doing. And thank you for bringing an issue that hasn't even been in our realm before, yet is so much a part of who we are as a community. So and Sean for his comments and being so supportive, and KMED for allowing us to be aired today.
Thank you. Now we have about 3 minutes left, so you may each have 30 seconds. David, you have 30 seconds. Unmute.
I apologize. Actually, I wanted to just quickly, I was able to get the comment from Julia Minton, who was trying to join the meeting, and I wanted to make sure that I get this out during this town hall listening session. She says, the National Union of Healthcare Workers would like to discuss concerns from inside our hospitals with the commission in the near future. With this pandemic, the public health and OSHA recommendations are ever evolving, yet some employers don't seem to be willing to keep up with those expert recommendations. In particular, the testing of workers and patients is an ongoing concern, as well as being notified of potential exposures. This is an issue for workers, patients, and our community members alike. Thank you, Julia, for that comment.
Thank you. And David, would you get that information to Lelania so she can get that on an agenda at some point?
I will. And
Yeah.
for my wrap up, I just want to thank everybody for the time that I've been given. I've already been given enough time and space. Thank you all so much for making this event a great event today.
Thank you. Mary Ann, your 30 seconds.
First of all, I'd like to wish everybody a safe, happy, healthy holiday season across our community. For those of you who are living alone, please remember you're not alone. You have a whole community to support you. And if you start to feel too lonely, reach out to anybody that you can. And remember our homeless and do what you can for them. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you, Mary Ann. Supervisor Madrone, would you have 30 seconds?
I just want to thank all the commissioners in the community for all the work that's being done to keep our community safe, and blessings to everybody.
Thank you. Any further comment from our guests? Yes, Anna, unmute.
Thank you to everybody. And I would just want to say we would love to have a sign, one of those signs over there, because it's true. There's not bad people, it's bad behavior. And I would definitely like to have one of those up. We're over at Plaza Point by the co-op. So
All
we're
right.
vulnerable, but that would be very helpful to have on our door. So.
Okay, good. We'll get one to you, to the co-op, right? Thank you.
Right across the street from the co-op, Plaza Point. It's a building for seniors and disabled. And we'd love to have those on our front doors.
I could bring one to you next week. I have some extra here.
Thank you,
That
Mary.
would be great.
Take care of that. Good. All right. I'm going to take the last 30 seconds and say thank you to everyone. We really appreciate the fact that you were willing to come and speak with us. Thank you so much, Steve Madrone, Supervisor, for being here with us and listening. And thank you to my fellow commissioners for making this work. Thank you to everyone, and have a safe and happy holiday season. Thank you. And this is hugging. Hug everybody, even if it has to be virtual. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Bird. Thank you, everyone.
2:00. We're off.